Okay, everybody, welcome to the Heretic Channel. My name is Jenova.
And I'm Gene Skinner. How's it going, folks?
Uh,
I was gonna try to come up with the name of Mo Rutherford. They call me Mo because I always want Mo.
They call me Mo. Um, Tonight we're talking about Larry Cohen.
Yep.
Larry
This is a
Cohen
retrospective
films.
of his films, yes.
Yes.
And the man in general, you could say as well, because he's a very interesting
A
character.
couple of them
Yes, not
mainly.
all of them, but we'll talk a
Not
few
all
things.
of them, but
Because
we
not
will
everything
talk.
he did was horror,
It's true.
obviously,
It's true. Some things he did were involved phone booths
and blaxploitation.
and black exploitation. Yes, which I'm sure they're pretty good.
Yeah, Black Caesar looks like it's alright for the time.
I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
But before that, let me drop some news on everybody real quick. So for me, this is exciting because I'm a big fan of this franchise. The Collector 3 has been confirmed happening. Not sure if it's going to be a theater or a Netflix release,
Mhm.
but the Collector 3 is coming. One of the guys who worked on the Collector, he tweeted out a poster and confirmed some other details about it. So the Collector 3 is coming. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't know about the Collector is it was originally supposed to be a prequel origin story for Jigsaw,
Oh, was it?
which is why the guy uses a lot of traps.
I
So,
got you.
but they turned it into its own thing,
Mhm.
and I'm kind of glad that they did because I think Saw should be the Collector should be separated from Saw.
Yeah, because
Uh,
doesn't it have more supernatural elements in it anyways?
no, not the Collector.
Okay, maybe I'm
No,
thinking of a different film that's like The Collector then.
yeah, the Collector and the Collection, which is the second one. He's just called the Collector. He's actually one of the better modern day slashers that
Gotcha.
we got. He can go right in there with like Victor Crowley, who's made his way. He's allowed on the board and stuff like that. But the Collector he's unique.
Mhm.
His mask is weird, and his eyes are all fucked up. Not sure what's going on there, but he's always been mysterious because they never show you his face.
Mhm.
Even in two sequels, or in two movies, he's never seen his face, the side of his face a little bit.
Does it look
And
like like
he
disfigured or?
kind of just looks like a normal person.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that he can't be disfigured. He might be. The mask sure kind of makes him look like he might be like a mongoloid or something.
Oh no, not a
Uh, but
mongoloid.
but I don't think he is. And we don't know why he collects people either. But he does
M-
collect people. He keeps
Maybe
them
he
in
sees
his
them as
fucking.
trading cards or something. I don't know.
He might gotta catch them all. But I always like the Collector, the way he sets up like traps in the house and stuff like that. It's like Macaulay Culkin like grew up.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff they do, or in the Collection. The Collection. He kills an entire like dance floor full of people.
Yeah.
It's real good shit. So if you're a fan of the Collector, Collector 3 is coming.
Interesting.
Um, so on to my second news. David S. Goyer,
Mhm.
who who did the Blade movies,
Mhm.
a couple other things he did too, like Dark Knight and stuff like that.
All right.
He is going to write and produce the reboot of Hellraiser.
Oh, is he?
Yes. So it will be a movie. That's what they're saying. The other guy who's involved with it, because I can't remember the company that owns Hellraiser,
Mhm.
but they say that they're very like the guy who runs it is saying, he's been friends with Clive Barker for 30 years. They know his vision. They know what they want. David S. Goyer says he's a big fan of it,
Isn't that what
and
the whole thing with the people that made the fucking Critter series said too? We want to do the brothers proud. We
yes,
know them so well enough.
that's what they always say.
Yeah.
I
Right.
look at what they're saying about Chucky, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
And now the more they show the doll, the more people are realizing that the doll looks terrible.
Yes.
And Chucky's all about the doll. Uh, but David S. Goyer doing the Hellraiser reboot, it will be a completely different story and a reimagining. It'll be a re-envisioning of Pinhead, who he is, and the
What if it?
Cenobites.
Well, what if they change Pinhead from being a dude to a woman?
Oh no.
It's all
Oh
about her
no.
inner struggle,
Please
about the
don't.
fighting against the patriarchy.
I think Jonathan Barkin from Dread Central was looking for something like that
Oh
because
God.
he's
Of
always
course he
been
was.
he's always been a staunch purporter of like he doesn't want Pinhead in the Hellraiser movies anymore because they've done Pinhead so much. He wants something new. But David S. Goyer says they are bringing back Pinhead and they
Okay.
are going to try and have Doug Bradley play Pinhead.
Oh, good.
Because the last two times he did not play Pinhead, and that really pissed off the fans.
Yeah, because that other dude doesn't look anything like him, nor
But
does he.
if you're doing a reimagining and you're
Yeah.
changing the story and you're changing Pinheads and the Cenobites and everything like that,
Mhm.
can you really bring Doug Bradley back? I mean, he knows how to play Hellraiser one way, obviously the best way,
Yeah.
but can you really get a new reimagining with the same Pinhead?
That's a good
So
question. I guess we'll have to see.
we'll see. Uh, who knows? I'm not a fan of remakes, even though just before we went on air, I was saying they should remake a certain movie.
Yeah.
There are some that should be remade, and others that you could always go the whole. I mean, why reboot it, right? Like, why
Yeah.
not go the whole? It's probably has something to do with legal rights.
Maybe.
If you reboot it, and then you can just own everything from
My
there
whole
on
thing
out.
is my whole thing is why not just like if you're making a different movie and say you've had it last forever, even though I really didn't like the new Blade Runner movie, but why don't you just set it like way past the point of the movie? Don't bring anyone back and just have it
Right?
like
Yeah.
mentioned vaguely and everything else.
Yeah. Brand new story. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Uh, I we'll see. I mean, that's basically what they're doing with the Chucky thing now.
yeah.
So,
Except they're trying to make the TV series that does still follow the movies.
yes, the TV series does still follow the movies. However, Don Mancini has said that it will be sort of a new story.
Mm.
So,
But they still wanted Brad Dourif to voice Chucky in the TV
right,
series,
Brad
right?
Dourif will still be voicing Chucky. It'll still be, they said it's going to be closer in tone to the first two movies, but it's going to be basically like new characters they're introducing.
I don't see why you don't count in like the third movie either. I think that had pretty good tone compared to like the first two. I think
Yeah.
it's a good trilogy of horror films.
Yes, very true. I would say, the third, it's two is probably my favorite
Mm.
out of those three. But three does get a lot of hate. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't like three. But I do know some people who really love three and they support it a lot. They think it's a great film.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. We know how reboots usually, do. I was thinking maybe they could do something like they did with Halloween, right?
Hmm.
Where you pick it up, you ignore all the sequels and you just pick it up right after the first one. You don't have to fuck with the first one
Hmm.
that everybody always loves, and you can just continue on where you want. Because I guess Halloween now has 4 different continuities,
Yeah.
depending on where you pick up the story. So
Let's pick up right after H2O and have Buster Rhymes just there, like 20 years later from his perspective. Like, why did they bring me back for this movie?
uh, you would think at like 40 years old, how Michael Myers would be kind of 40 years later. He's like 60 something.
No,
So
he's still fast.
yeah,
Don't let him fool you.
he's still Michael Myers, still a machine. So yeah, so Hellraiser reboot coming.
Mhm.
On to my next little bit of news. It's not nothing big,
Okay.
but the trailer for It Chapter 2 is coming out on Thursday.
Oh, is it?
Not sure if it's going to be a teaser trailer. It may just be a teaser trailer, but I mean, it's starting to get to that time. It's supposed to release this year. I think August, September, sometime like that.
Mm.
So it's getting about that. It's getting about that time, and I think people are already saying we should have already seen trailers already for it. It's getting too close to the time, but
Yeah, we'll
so
see.
Thursday is when the trailer comes out. So look for that. It'll probably be all over. If you're on Twitter, it'll probably be
Oh,
trending.
I have some news for you too, as well.
Oh
That's some
yes, go
surprise
ahead.
news. So Bruce Campbell has put to dead. Yeah, put to dead. put to rest the rumors of him being an unlockable character in Mortal Kombat 11
Oh,
on
he's not.
Twitter. Yep, he's not.
Oh no.
Yep, Ash is not going to be an unlockable character in MK11.
So they're not doing the whole.
Nope.
Wow. Who
That was a.
started the rumor that he
I
was
don't
going to
know.
be?
Someone did. They said it was a data mine leak, but it's an internet rumor, and it's not true apparently.
Wow, that sucks. That he would have been a good match.
Hmm.
I know he posted a picture of Ash wearing the Infinity Gauntlet from Endgame, and now everybody's speculating, oh, is he going to be part of? Are they doing Ash versus Marvel Zombies now?
Oh God.
So I don't know.
They haven't even
You
moved.
post a
You post a meme and people meme it too hard.
right, exactly. It's a guy who's known for missing his hand, and he puts on the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yep.
Just as a joke, and now it's, oh my God, is this going to happen? Are they going to do this? Is this like, shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
But that is the news for tonight.
All right. So the segue is they call me
Let's
Mo because I
see.
want Mo.
I'm just looking at chat. What movie do you want to start with?
Why don't we start with what you've watched and I didn't, but we know it well enough. It's Alive. That's its first horror film, so why not?
Yes, it's Alive, which has Tony something
Yeah.
Bianco or some shit in it.
Yeah.
I never remember his name. Well, the funniest thing about it's Alive is the way it starts. It starts with them. It starts with the couple waking up,
Hmm.
and her water has broken, but neither of them seem urgent. They're still yawning. They're still getting their stuff together. He's casually picking out his clothes that he's gonna wear to the fucking that he's gonna wear to the hospital, and she's like getting her gown ready and everything like that. Nobody's in a rush. She
My
doesn't
water
even
just
wake
broke. It's
up in a
fine.
rush. Yeah, she just kind of wakes up and she like gives this face like she's got a little bit of gas, and she's like, "It's time. My water broke. It's time." And they're like, "Oh, great." Oh, and they yawn and stretch like it's the morning and everything. Nobody, nobody's in a fucking rush. They get to the hospital and all the men are in the waiting room, and they all want to play cards and shit like that.
Hmm.
It's a very old school vibe of what giving birth actually is.
Yeah.
But then, of course, she does give birth to a massive baby. Oh, by the way, the doctor who's there overseeing, he doesn't want her to talk while she's like, there's something wrong. He's like, nah, it's just a massive baby. You're
Yeah.
fine. It's gonna be a mongoloid, this one. This
Oh
one's
God.
a fucking idiot. And he's like, well, how she's like, it's not like Chris, which is their kid, their old kid.
Hmm.
And she's like, it's not like Chris. It wasn't like this before. He goes, well, how much should Chris weigh? And she's like, 7, 8 pounds. He goes, oh, this one's probably 10, 11 pounds. Look at the size of this head.
Yep.
She's fully dilated, and it's not even crowning yet. And the baby does have a fucked up head.
Yeah.
And then you don't really.
If you actually see a picture like photo stills of It's Alive, you see Larry with the puppet. He really likes that puppet.
Yeah, that puppet was made by Rick Baker.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and he told
Hey,
Rick, he goes,
where do we know Rick Baker from, Jenova? He seems like a very familiar name we've heard on this channel
oh,
plenty of times. Oh, you mean he's from everything now, is he?
oh yeah, he's got his hands in everything. Rick does.
From American Werewolf in London to Howling First because John Landis decided to whine and cry about it to him because he's like, no, don't help, Joe. Help me with my movie. You said you'd help me. Yeah, okay, go fuck yourself. How about that, Landis?
It's always Raker, or it's always Baker, Boutine,
Yep.
Savini, or Nicotero. Those
Yep.
4 guys you'll see every fucking where.
Which is actually kind of funny because I think Rick was actually, if I remember correctly, the apprentice of the guy who did the first Gremlin stuff, which is William. I don't remember his last name, but I think his name's William something else. He did a special effects for things from like Jurassic Park and all this other shit too.
Oh right, yeah.
And they couldn't get him, and yeah, they couldn't get him back because he was doing something at the time. That's why they got Rick.
Yeah, well, they become, like after Evil Dead, Nicotero, he became very,
yeah.
everybody wanted him.
Yep.
So that's what you got to do. You got to do one good movie that everybody goes, holy shit. I'm sure it's a lot harder for practical effects guys
Oh yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder for you to make your name now
Yeah, that's
because
why Rick said he was retiring because in 2014, because like nobody wants me as much as because CGI is easier, cheaper, and all this other stuff.
is CGI really cheaper?
I don't know. It's weird, but people will pay like big money for it.
It just doesn't seem like it would be. It just doesn't seem like it would be cheaper to do
I know it
CGI.
doesn't to me either, but I don't know. They said like it's easy to do shitty CGI. Maybe it's cheap. I don't know.
Maybe it has something to do with the process
Maybe
of like you can shoot things and you don't have to worry about if the practical effects guys are getting it done or not,
I
or if it's
guess
going
yeah.
to look good or not. You can just put it in CGI and go. I guess it's cheap. I mean, it's cheap in a different sense of cheap,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I get you. But anyway, so
Practical. Fuck says practical takes way more labor and hands. One guy can do CGI. But I would think a CGI guy would get paid a lot. Would get paid just as
you would
much as
think so,
a
yeah.
crew of practical effects people. But
You'd think, but I don't know.
I think at least when it comes to horror movies, you should kind of throw the CGI out the window and worry about
Yeah,
the practical
you
effects.
really should.
I mean, you could have some great. Who knows? Like the guys, the team that worked on The Thing 2011. All of that was supposed to be practical effects.
Oh, you know who supervised that though, Jenova?
Oh, who was it?
None other than Rick himself. He supervised it because he
Well,
did the original effects.
right, and they didn't get to use.
Yeah, a
They
lot of the
didn't.
stuff
They
Rick
didn't get to
wanted.
use
Yeah,
any of it. Some fucking exec stepped in and said, "Oh, this looks terrible. You need to do CGI." And they were like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
yeah,
So The Thing 2011 could have looked way better.
yeah. There's a lot of sketches Rick did as well, and everything else. You'll see it when you see talks about the thing and everything else as well.
Yeah, that's true. But in It's Alive,
Yes. Let's get back
we
on
don't
topic because we had a little rant there.
we don't see the baby, like we don't see them kill the baby kills the whole hospital room
Yes.
that she's giving birth in. And
Yes.
he's like walking around and he's kind of fucked up. He doesn't, his wife's giving birth and he's out in the waiting room. And he kind of sees like some surgeon assistant sort of stumble out of the room covered in
Hmm.
blood. And then they just go in there and it's just the room's full of blood. The wife's in a fucking daze.
Yep.
And people, they think somebody might have stolen the baby
Hmm.
or something like that, but it obviously didn't, because then some guy comes in and he's like, the umbilical cord's been torn. It looks like it's been chewed off. So we know the baby chewed its umbilical cord off and then crawled out of the skylight. There's a hole in the ceiling. It crawled out of that.
Yep.
And then the rest of the movie is a lot of talking and dialogue. You don't really get to see the baby at all.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point, though. Is it's a dialogue-heavy film for that reason because they wanted to use the effects sparingly.
Yeah, well, you get to see it towards the end, but in
Yeah.
the middle, it sort of turns out to be like there's like a drug company or something
Yeah, that's right.
that may be responsible for the mutations in the baby.
Yes.
And you hear about the baby killing some people here or there,
Yep.
because the whole city knows about it, and the whole city knows that this guy gave birth to some mutant mongoloid who's running around killing everybody. And then like his wife starts to go a little crazy
Yeah.
from the whole thing, and he's basically left to deal with this whole thing himself.
Yes.
And then at the end of the film, they track the baby to the sewers. And it's a whole bunch of people. The cops want the baby dead. He doesn't know what he wants to do with the baby. The university wants the baby to study it. And the people who run the people that mutated the baby,
They want it so they can cover
the
it up.
pills or whatever, the medicine company or whatever, they want it dead because they don't want any. They don't want anybody
they don't
to
want
be
to
able to
know
link
about
it back to it. You know.
The evil corporation, as we all know, exists in 80s. Evil, sinister corporations.
Well, what was that one drug that made all the babies retarded?
I don't
that
know.
they gave. There was a drug there was definitely a case of it
Yeah,
where
there was
if
one.
you
Yeah,
took this, your babies were coming out retarded and shit and looking
yeah.
stupid. Um,
That
so
was like it. It was
it's
a
probably
drug that
based.
was based on that and everything else. Just like
Yeah.
the
Yes.
scanners was also based on that thing too.
Yes. True. Scanners is fucking classic. That's a great film. Um, so then at the end, he corners the baby in the sewer,
Hmm.
and you realize that the baby isn't evil.
Hmm.
At least this is what I got from it because the
Okay.
baby is crying. It's super scared. It
Hmm.
doesn't attack him. It looks like it's attacking out of fear or to eat, to take care of itself. You know, it's mutated. It doesn't know what's going on. And he sort of like picks the baby up and takes it. It's his child. I got really sad when the baby was fucking
Oh,
crying. I felt real bad for it because the whole time you think it's this mutant evil baby and we got to fucking stomp it out. And then it's just scared and it doesn't know what's going on because it's a newborn
it's a baby.
and it's not been around its mother. It's had to fend for itself, even though fending for itself is its own damn fault. It's the
Yeah.
one that attacked everybody and fucking crawled away. Uh, and then he's walking with the baby out of the tunnel, and he's surrounded by everybody who wants the baby either dead or for their own purpose or whatever. And the cops are going to shoot him and the baby too.
Oh God.
And then there's one guy there from the pharmaceutical company. That was the word I was trying to think of.
Yeah, pharmaceutical.
Pharmaceutical company that they want the baby dead, and he's trying to tell him. So he takes the baby, and just as everybody's about to shoot, he throws the baby at the pharmaceutical guy. And the baby attacks that guy. And then while he's being eaten by the mutant baby, all the cops shoot both of them.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so the baby gets bullet holes in it. The pharmaceutical guy gets bullet holes in it. And then him and his wife are sitting in the back of the police car, and the cop gets a radio, and they say, "Oh, there's something on the private line for you." And they go to the private line, and somebody tells him something, and he says, "Yes, I understand." And just as he drives away, he goes, "There was just another one born in Seattle."
Oh boy, that's how they made the
And
sequel.
they drive off into the night.
That's how they made the sequel bait.
Oh yeah, totally. Because during the interview that we watched, when Larry Cohen talks about It's Alive, he always prefaces that you need to watch all three of them.
Yes.
He always says, watch all three It's Alives. And
Yeah.
I did not get a chance to, so I don't know where the story goes after this. Eventually, I think the third one is called The Island
Yeah, it's on
of
an
It's
island.
Alive or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it goes back to the pharmaceutical companies and the tests or something that they're running to mutate.
Probably.
You know, because Larry Cohen he's out there, man.
He is.
He loves that fucking chaos and shit like that.
He certainly does.
I would hope. I would hope they. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, you go first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I hope that in It's Alive 2 that they would add more baby killing.
I mean, that's the big selling point now is a mutant baby killing.
More baby killing, please.
Speaking
Or
of
more babies killing people, I guess.
yeah, that's true too. Speaking of killing people, well, God told me to.
Yes, God told me to. Great movie.
Yes, let's talk about that since that's the one we both watched.
What's that movie about, Gene?
That movie is about a sniper first on a roof shooting people for like no discernible reason. Cop goes up and talks to him, says like, "Why are you doing this?" Talk about how nice the day is, makes him know everything about himself. The guy basically says, "Well, you won't believe this, but I'll tell you anyway. God told me to." Then jumps from the fucking roof.
Yeah.
And that's how it sets everything up.
That's how that movie starts.
Yep.
It's really fucking good.
And it's just a ride the entire way through, especially with all the plot twists in this fucking movie. The fact that you get to find out slowly and surely there's more of a connection with the cop and the killer than lets on. It seems like at first like they're just crazy people, right?
No.
But they're not crazy people. This keeps happening. It's a coincidence this keeps happening. It's not like it's really weird for coincidences to happen so much like this.
Right, because more people keep randomly killing people, and they keep saying the same thing.
God told
me to.
Yeah, he didn't have to speak to me. He didn't say anything. He just told me. God told me to, so that was okay.
And then we come to the whole story. Now, of course, spoilers. The movie's from '76, so
If you haven't seen this movie, that's your own
you
damn
haven't
fault. I
seen
mean,
a lot of these movies are old, so if you haven't seen them, it's your own fault.
yeah. So
But
spoiler alert: aliens.
aliens, right? Yes.
Two women are basically brought aboard ships, one way earlier and one
Yes.
way later, and the one that's way later has this strange child that's not fully developed once it gets out the womb. Like it seems like it's not male or female, says the doctor. And people keep saying that that's the person that each of these people saw before they killed someone. Was they saw this person, they saw him talking to him, and the guy wasn't like he's wearing hippie-ish shit. Like he's not wearing any shoes, he's wearing robes, has yellow hair.
Yeah, they describe blonde hair down to his shoulders. Like they're
Look like
asking
he
one
looks like
guy.
a fucking girl. Is what one guy
Yeah,
said.
they're asking one guy, and he's like, "We don't let those type of people into our establishment.
Yep.
He would not be allowed here."
Yep.
I think his name is Bernard Phillips. Is
Yeah, it's
what
Bernard.
his
Yeah, it's Bernard or Joseph Phillips.
yeah, and that's really just because that's what his mother named him. If it was
Yep.
somewhere else, he would have a completely different name.
Yeah.
Because when you see him, and because they don't, the first time he meets him,
Yeah.
they don't show him.
Nope.
It looks like a fire. It's almost got that burning bush aspect from the Bible.
Yes.
And it's just a fire that's talking to him.
Yeah. It's really glowing. The whole room's glowing. You can't really see anything. And then all of a sudden, he basically is forced to put his hand in a fire. And then the whole room explodes. Everything's on fire.
Right. Yes. And the whole time he's hunting, trying to figure out, the more he hunts for what's going on, the more he investigates, the more he finds out that he has a greater connection to all of this than
then let on.
And it turns out that he is also an alien hybrid.
Yep.
But he has a recessive gene or something.
So he's closer to humans. He
right. So
normal.
he looks normal compared to his brother or whoever it would be.
Yeah.
And do you remember why his brother is like, because his brother is kind of like, his brother's doing all of this to sort of find him, right?
It's more the fact he's doing it because he wants to prove, I think, a point, or like how humans are the species that shouldn't be here or something. They left us here to basically populate the earth.
Right, okay.
Something like that, and that's why he's doing all this stuff to just like it is to get his attention, yes, because he knows he's a cop and that's what he does. But he's like, that's not the whole reason why he does that, is that because then you figure out, oh hey, at the end he has a side vagina.
Yeah, right on his abdomen.
Yep.
And then they zoom in on it.
Yeah, we can procreate. I mean, they zoomed in on it at a certain point too, and she's getting like aboard the ship.
Yeah,
his mom is, and that shows that too.
Yeah,
that's what the aliens have. Apparently, they're transsexual aliens from outer space.
So they don't. So do they rub their abdomen vagina on the other person's, on the human female's vagina?
I guess I don't fucking know.
Is it like tribbing? Is that what they do? Did they scissor?
I don't want to know what they fucking do. They're aliens. I don't want to think about it too much. They said they're engulfed by a light, and then they get fucked and they're pregnant. And that's the first time my daddy hit me. My daddy hit me because that happened to me after 9 months. And I had a baby, and I gave him up to the Catholic Church, gave him to a good Catholic family. I always thought I was close to God, and then I realized it was actually me.
And they sort of play up the whole religious themes in this film as well.
They do. Yeah.
The whole thing about like miraculous births.
Miraculous birth.
They bring up Moses and
Jesus. The alien himself brings up Moses. He's like, who are Moses and Jesus really? Were they one of us because they can do special things and all this other stuff? What is God? His comes up several times as well.
Right.
And I love the end tagline after he he doesn't even kill him. He basically just punches him and chokes him.
I started laughing.
It is a little funny because that's the funny thing. He's never felt pain. He's never been in physical confrontation with people.
Exactly.
Because he's been able to control them. So that's why.
He's sitting there in this aura of light, this yellow light. He's got these white robes on. He looks very religious. He looks like a religious deity of some sort.
Yeah.
And our main character, he just had enough and he smacks him in the face.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Yeah, he sounds like a woman when he slaps him.
Yeah. And then he just starts smacking him over and over.
And he's like, "Oh, you've never felt pain before." Yeah.
He goes, "You feel pain just like us." I thought that was really funny. It just because
And
the
that's the
tone.
whole that's the whole thing too. Is that's why he has psychic reverberations the whole time he's doing that to him as well. The whole building starts falling apart and everything else.
Right, everything starts to come down.
Because his mind can't take like the pain he's feeling
Yeah, it's just
physically.
that movie is so dark,
It is,
and
and
it
that's
has
one of the most comedic scenes to end on. Yeah,
yeah, and then this scene comes out of nowhere. I think it's more of the reaction of
yeah,
his brother getting slapped, where he's just, ah, what are you doing?
yeah,
He doesn't see it coming. He reverts almost to a child,
yep.
getting beat up by an older kid,
hmm
and
The whole building collapses. He leaves
the
it. Then
whole
he's
building
basically he's
collapses.
arrested by the police because he killed somebody. Because that's who they
Right,
know. They say Jesse Phillips or whatever his name was. Yeah, because that's what it is. It's Jesse Phillips because he has like a girly sounding name too.
right.
That's being a transvestite alien. And then they ask him, "Well, why'd you do it?" God told me to.
Yes, God told me to.
End line, and then it's like, oh, he's in the penitentiary for the insane. Even though that's played up several times too, like, oh yeah, people who go to the insane asylum never get out 5 years later and they walk the streets.
Yep, that's all that happens.
Yep.
I would like to see them do maybe a sequel to that whole thing. I mean, I don't want to say it could use a reboot, but I mean, I don't think you could do it as well as Larry Cohen does it because
No.
he's got such a vision when he's writing and stuff
hmm
and directing and everything. Like he says in the interview, he really likes chaos. He
Yep.
likes to work in chaos.
He loves the fact that films themselves, he pictures them way earlier in his head and when he writes them, but he needs something different from what it actually is too. So it
Yeah,
can't be the same. It needs something to keep his interest in it. Otherwise, he feels like bored or like the movie's not worth doing.
yeah, and he says like screenwriters today, they're all, these
They
certain
all have
things
these
should happen
formula.
in the
Yeah,
first 10
10
pages.
minutes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then she goes in and then everything feels the same and he doesn't like to work like that. He likes
No.
to write his own stuff.
Yep.
And fuck, the reason it sounds similar to Phone Booth Plot is because
Larry Cohen wrote for.
yeah, because Larry Cohen wrote Phone Booth. Um but then he also told this story about how he first got into writing, you know.
Yep.
And how like he would go to this, he would go there, he would go get his, he would
Pester
have
him.
his,
Yep.
and he would just bring them whatever they wanted until they eventually gave him a paycheck.
Yep. That is
And
correct.
he said they wanted a teen comedy. I went home and I wrote a teen comedy. They wanted a romance. I went home and I wrote a romance. And I just kept bringing it back and bringing it back until finally somebody gave me $500.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I could just sit in a room and write and make money off of it. All
Yep.
right. I
hmm
mean, he really pestered them. He was very
Yep.
persistent
Yep.
in getting a job. And I mean, that's kind of what it takes in that industry,
hmm
unless you have,
Connections.
connections or you somehow have some story that nobody's ever heard of before and you've got the rights to it and you've got it locked down
Well,
and
that's
nobody
it.
can
So
take
that's
it.
funny because all directors in Hollywood now should just be doing stories or rehashing stuff or rebooting things or staying with
Mhm.
stuff that's safe. What
Yeah,
I'm saying is, I'd like to see more Larry Cohen's, more Joe Dante's, more people that I actually like as directors to be actual directors, so I don't get this same shit all the time. It'd be great.
yeah. I think it would be better. I mean, people are always saying that Hollywood needs to take more risks.
They don't. They
And
don't even
they
take any risks.
never really listen. And then anytime you get like a Blumhouse or something like that, who you think like is going to take risks because
No,
they
they
work
don't.
for themselves, they don't
No.
take any risks. They eventually fall right into formula,
Yeah.
and then they start pushing out all the bullshit that Blumhouse pushes out.
I will say this though, and it's a big thing we've talked about in the show too. I think Cannes festivals are really great. The whole idea of just going to a place and watching films that are experimental ones, once people did it on their own time, on budget, everything else is really cool. I love that concept. I hope it never goes away. And yeah,
I mean, that's like without stuff like that, you wouldn't have like your Evil Deads.
nope.
So you need a place for directors and writers, actors,
hmm
people in film that aren't necessarily in Hollywood
Yeah.
or in one of the big film industries that are putting out film that are able to make their mark or push their way through. Because it's all locked up now from Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a waste. Hollywood is a
And I
wasteland
mean,
of.
even though Larry Cohen died,
Yep.
R.I.P.,
Yep.
but earlier this year too. But he was even talking about how eventually he was one of the most sought after writers in Hollywood, and he was being treated like this guy that could
Yeah,
rub elbows
like
with
with
Spielberg.
Spielberg and who's the other one too?
Zemeckis.
Zemeckis. Yeah, right. You mentioned both of them by name.
Both of the Jews.
That's correct.
And Schumacher.
Yeah,
He
Schumacher.
brings up Schumacher because that's what
he,
they were doing in Phone Booth.
Yeah, he was doing Phone Booth. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that's when that interview was, around the time they were doing Phone Booth.
Yep.
It was supposed to have Mel Gibson in it.
Yeah, that would have made it a completely different film.
It would have probably been a better film.
Yeah.
I wonder who Mel Gibson was supposed to be. I guess he was supposed to play Colin Farrell's part because he basically says Colin Farrell replaced Mel Gibson.
Yep.
So I kind of have a suspicion that was around the time that Mel gave his little outburst about the Jews.
Well, it's the fact Schumacher was directing it. I don't think Larry Cohen would have cared as much if he were directing it. But
no, I don't think. No, because Larry Cohen puts Michael Moriarty in his films, and as we found out, Michael Moriarty is pretty based.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, that's a great conversion point here, Jenova. Thank you for bringing up Michael Moriarty, because the first film he starred in for Larry Cohen was none other than Q, the Winged Serpent.
Q, the Winged Serpent. Now that's about the flying
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
Quintessential Quaddle.
Yes. Tell me about Q, because I didn't get a chance to watch it and refresh my memory on it.
I watched it fully, so I will remind you a little bit of it. So Q's whole thing is it's got two subplots in it, right? The first actually has probably more than that, but the two bigger ones are the fact that there's some guy going around ritualistically killing people, right? Like Aztec style killing people. He flayed skin off of people or removed hearts and all that shit.
Okay.
And the people they actually have, the cops that are after this guy, are two big name actors that I think just did this because they were paid a decent amount. So one's Robert Roundtree, as you know, Shaft.
Shaft.
And David Carradine plays the main cop in this.
Wow. Yeah. He died of erotic asphyxiation.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, they're playing the two cops in this, and our boy Michael Moriarty does have a big side character role as Jim.
Yes, the guy who wants to be a jazz musician.
Yes, he does.
Jim who is actually a jazz musician in real life.
In real life, yes.
Yes, tell the story, please.
Okay, so the whole story of why that's in the movie itself is because the first day of shooting, when Michael Moriarty is there, he's listening to something on a cassette tape, and Larry Cohen notices him. He's like, "Hey, what are you listening to?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just listening to my own music. I do this in my spare time. I do scat style music. I want to
check out my mixtape."
No, he didn't even say that. But Larry Cohen's like, "Oh, really? I want to listen to it." And he's like, "Okay, sure." And he's like, "Man, this stuff's really good. I think I want this in my movie." And he's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, I want this in my movie. We can add it in. I'll write your part of the character wanting to be a jazz musician." But he stinks up the performance, and then he has to do the other job of robbing a bank with all these other, not robbing a jewelry store with all these other guys.
Right, because that's what jazz musicians do in their off time.
Well, we learn a lot about we learn a lot about Jim's character through the entire story, where we realize he's like a former druggie. He's been behind bars at certain points, an addict, and all this other stuff. But he was running with crowds of people, and that's what he's known for. He's known as the getaway man, the guy who basically.
One of the more deeper sort of characters that Michael Moriarty has played for a Larry Cohen film.
Yes, though I think his best character will come up a little later.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll save that movie for the end.
Yeah, we will, because that's probably the best movie to save for the end.
Yeah.
So that's his whole thing. He's living with a girl. They plan to get married, actually, is how the sound of it and everything else is going. But he says she mentioned stuff of him hitting her one time or something like that. How she'd beat his face in if he ever tried that again.
Yeah.
The whole thing seems like it's not a very healthy relationship, but she does seem to genuinely care for him throughout the entire thing. Even though the big thing you see first is that they fucking force his hand. They
Right.
force Jimmy's hand. They say, "No, you're not staying in the car. You're coming in and robbing with us." Gave him a revolver, and he's like, "I don't shoot people. I've never shot anyone in my life." Like all his stuff and convictions is just getting busted by people
Yeah.
and for drugs. He's like never done anything like that. And
But he
so
has to do it because he was rejected from the jazz club or whatever.
yes, that's where his girlfriend is. She works there as a waitress. So
Right.
that's the whole thing. And then and even it's funny because David Carradine's in there too. And there's a line when he passes him, like, "I thought you were pretty good." He's like, "What the fuck do you know?"
Yeah.
So yeah, they go into the jewelry store. He leaves them there and steals the briefcase, which is worth like $70,000 in the '80s. So that's a kind of big chunk of money. He ends up getting hit by like almost a taxi cab because they left the fucking they took the keys out of the car so they couldn't take it. Like, oh man, they took the fucking keys, so he just wanted to leave them. And then basically he gets hit by that taxi cab. The diamonds are gone, and then he's like running. He just keeps running. He goes to the Chrysler Building, right?
Right. Yes.
And in the Chrysler Building, he basically keeps running up there to escape a guy. And when he escapes the guy, he finds a giant bird's nest with a huge egg in it.
Oh boy.
And that huge egg is a Quetzalcoatl egg.
But it's not the Quetzalcoatl from that's been killing people.
It's not the one it is the one that's been killing people.
Okay,
Yes.
so
That's that sorry, that's the biggest thing it starts off with is this guy cleaning a window, right, on one of the skyscraper buildings, and his
right.
head gets beaten off as soon as this lady says, "Man, I really wish he would like beat it or get some air." And that's what happens, yeah. His head comes like clean off and you see the shadow of this bird, it bites his head off. It's actually
Right.
it's a pretty nice claymation that's used for the Quetzalcoatl, but that's a really weird thing with this movie. At least it seems weird. I mean, it makes sense if you watch the entire thing, but it's weird because it's like the ritualistic murders happen after this, so you're wondering the whole time like what's causing the ritualistic murders.
Right. So it's almost like sacrifice to Quetzalcoatl.
It's what brought it back, technically. The guy explains like, oh yeah, so it brought it back by a blood sacrifice coming. It like resurrected these things that always used to exist all over the world, but they died off except one, and that like a blood sacrifice would bring it back.
And now it's in Chicago?
No, it's New York.
New York, okay.
Yeah, it's New York City.
So now it's in New York.
Yeah,
Even
and
though even though the Aztecs they were from South America.
yes, that's correct.
So now this thing's in New York,
Mhm.
flying around, eating everybody. I mean, we mentioned it on the Kaiju stream too.
Yes, we did mention Q. That's correct.
It always kind of reminded me of an episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker.
A little bit, yeah. What I was gonna say is that they call it two things. Some people call it the feather serpent, but that thing, like, but the people that are actually religious followers of it, or like the anthropologist that talks about it, is they call it the plumed serpent.
The plumed. What does that mean?
Plumed does mean feathered as well. It's a fancy way to say feathered.
I see. But
It's
it
like
doesn't have any feathers.
No, it does not.
Oh, okay. But it should have feathers.
It's like a giant prehistoric bird while not being a bird.
Okay.
It's a weird in-betweener.
Like a pterodactyl.
Kinda, yes.
But bigger.
Yeah. And it has claws and legs, so besides its wings.
Who's Cohen Strog? Larry Cohen. That's who we're talking about today. The films of Larry Cohen.
But yeah, so basically the whole thing with Michael Moriarty's character Jim is he goes up there, he finds the egg, and he goes down. He finds the hole too where it goes in to like protect its egg. And when he gets down off the ladder, he finds a skeleton there, right?
Yes.
Because it has the bones of the baby, like the bones of the stuff it's eating, like the people. That's why it smells like really, really awful there. He finds a bracelet on it, but he doesn't take it. He's like, no, I'm not going to touch a dead body. I may be a thief, but no, fuck no.
No, I'm not stealing from the dead. That comes with all. That comes with all kinds of things that make a completely different movie. We didn't write that movie. We wrote a movie about a giant dinosaur killing everybody.
Yeah, the giant dinosaur killing everybody, and some guy going around ritualistically killing people for the Aztec rituals. But here's an interesting thing they mentioned about this, right? The guy who got his skin flayed and the guy who gets his heart ripped out. You have to be willing to do these rituals, right?
Not just willing to commit the act. You have to be willing to be sacrificed.
Yes.
Okay.
The whole thing, and you see it at the end more, the guy who's killing people, as I said, you have to accept the prayer of forgiveness, and then you can basically get sacrificed. Because
So
it's a willing thing. These people were willingly decided to die to bring back the fucking monster or be
e-
sacrificed to it.
even the window washer, or was that just like an
No,
accident?
no, that thing, it not okay. So I know it's confusing, right? Because you have the two subplots. But I mean, the people that get ritualistically sacrificed are the ones that are willingly doing it. The
Okay.
other people are the victims of just Quetzalcoatl like flying in the sun so nobody sees at the right time when it kills
Right.
people.
Okay. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So the people who are killed by the flying dinosaur are not sacrifices.
No, they're just food.
Yeah, they're just food for this thing that's been brought back from the sacrifices.
Yes.
Okay. That definitely sounds like a Kolchak fucking episode.
Hmm.
I think there is even a Kolchak episode with an Aztec that's killing people trying to bring shit back.
Hmm. So a lot of the, like I said, a lot of it does focus on Michael Moriarty's character of Jimmy. His whole story arc throughout the entire thing is that basically after that happens, he goes back to see his girlfriend. But then the like guys from the thing who was at this place, who was at a Chinese restaurant eating duck, they were all talking about this heist they were gonna do. They
Right.
come and see him or trying to get him, and he runs out of the apartment, leaves. And the funny thing is, the soundtrack for that is Michael Moriarty's music. That is when he is singing
Yes.
through that. The scat music is singing the entire time.
Yes, because Larry Cohen owns Michael Moriarty.
Yeah, he owned him after he
He owned
made.
him after that.
Mm,
He said, he's never come onto a set before where a director has done that, where
yeah,
they've just, you're like, okay, well, we're going to take part of your life and actually make
but
it
yeah,
part of the
the movie,
character.
yes.
Yeah, for the movie.
And that's a big thing that Michael Moriarty said he really likes too, is that he has to have some kind of interest or something. He has to click with characters before he plays them. And Larry Cohen said, well, to make this character more interesting for you, we'll add stuff from your actual life into it.
Yes. Because that's the way Larry Cohen works. He said that when you're writing, he writes like you when you're writing a movie, you usually have a couple scenes in your head. Write those 1st, and the middle scenes will fill themselves out.
Yep.
And he takes that whole philosophy onto set with him.
Yes.
Because that's not and we'll talk about this movie later, but it's not the first time Michael Moriarty and Larry Cohen sort of changed a character around.
That is true. Well, we'll be
fit.
talking that more near the end.
Yeah. But I'd have to say I like that about Larry Cohen. I like that he can come in with a script, have an idea for characters, and if the actors really aren't getting their hooks into the characters or they can't figure something out, he's more than willing to change it because he realizes a lot of that stuff is sort of incidental. And the guy could have been anything.
Yeah.
He didn't have to be a down on his luck jazz singer who couldn't get work or something like that. He could have
He's
been
a former addict.
Right. He could have been something completely different, but it just so happened to work out that way where Larry Cohen has the state of mind to be able to take that and turn it into part of a character.
Yep, and I say that Jim has the biggest character development throughout the entire thing. Especially, it seems like it is his hero's journey throughout the thing. And some people really do not like Michael Moriarty as an actor. Like, they hate him for some reason. I don't know why. I think he's a really good actor.
If he's in a lot of Larry Cohen.
Yeah, but I mean, he's in other stuff too. He's not just in Larry Cohen.
Right, because he was in Law and Order and stuff like that too. But I don't have a problem with Michael Moriarty. I mean, I can understand, there are some, actors are very much, you like this guy, you don't like this guy, it all depends. But Michael Moriarty always seems to fit the roles he plays.
Yeah.
And he's played a lot of different types of guys in different Cohen films. And not really the same person. And Cohen does the same thing that Cameron or Spielberg do. They bring people back. They like their certain actors and they always use them when they can. But I mean, after watching the films that I watched with Michael Moriarty in them because of what we were doing tonight, I have a more of a respect for Michael Moriarty. Before he was just like an actor. Oh, hey, I know that guy. But after learning more and more about him,
Mhm.
man, he's definitely got my respect. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. So now those, like I was saying, I'm getting over the synopsis again. So the guys basically jump him, say, "Where's the fucking diamond?" He's like, he tells them too when they're trying to break in the house, like, "I dropped them. I'm sorry. They got thrown under a truck.
Yeah,
Got hit by a
doesn't
fucking
lie or
cab."
any doesn't lie or anything. Just says, "Look, I fucking dropped them. I'm sorry."
Yeah, and they basically keep thinking he's lying and start beating him up.
Of course.
And they basically he's like, "Okay, okay, I know where they are. I'll show you." He's taking them to the Chrysler building because he knows what's there.
Right.
So he basically leads them up there. And the whole thing, actually, it's really funny too. When he was first there as well, before he sees the egg and all the other stuff. But he says this when he's looking out because it's like a huge plank that's up there and everything.
Yeah.
And he says, "You know, I've been afraid of everything most of my life, but I ain't afraid of heights."
He's always got Moriarty always has good quips like that.
Yep.
He's got him in almost every movie he does.
Yep.
So then what happens towards the end of Q?
Well, I'll get there. I just like summarizing more of the stuff. So they get up there,
Oh yeah,
they
go ahead.
basically killed, and he's like happy about it. He's like cheering it on. His character gets a little bit more on the corrupt side, I would say, because he thinks
Mhm.
all this power he has now and knowing where this thing is, he's like, I could save the city more than these cops can, and everything else like that.
That's right. I remember that now.
Yeah. And he basically is asking for $1 million and how he'd be able to take the rights of this creature and everything else. So they go up there, they're with him and everything because he's free now. He gives amnesty as well. So they go up there, they basically shoot the hell out of the egg.
Right.
And what's really funny though is actually the person that busts him is or tries to yell at him the most is Shaft's character.
Right. Richard
He ba-
Roundtree.
yeah, he basically yells at him, he hates him and everything else, and he hates him too, but it's not because he's a racist or anything. The reason he hates him, which you find out a lot later, is because he said a crooked cop like you was the one who he calls him a crooked cop. He's not though. He says a crooked cop like you is the one who busted me, who planted all this dope and all these drugs on me. That's why I don't trust anyone like you because I don't trust black cops. They're worse than white cops.
Oh. God damn.
Yeah.
How does Shaft react to that?
He just wants to beat the shit out of him.
Does he give him a roundhouse kick?
He basically almost beats the shit out of him, but he's stopped by his superiors because they're trying to negotiate a deal with him.
That'd be a good time for the Shaft music to kick in.
Yeah. So David Carradine and him go to a coffee place where he basically sits down and he's drinking coffee and he talks about the idea of like what you should do. Basically, since there's a hole there, you should put a tent over it. That way, it traps the thing inside where you guys can all shoot it.
Okay.
Right. But
Yeah.
they don't do that because it's gone. And then it basically turns into them killing the one that's in the egg and everything else. Then they say, well, that we didn't pay for you to give us to just the egg. We wanted to kill the big one. So we're taking our $1,000 back.
Oh no.
Yeah, and he's basically saying, I'm gonna sue your ass. You lied to me. He gave him like 2 cents back. He just shows the cents like you can shove those cents up your brain because how stupid you are. And he's basically saying, like, yeah, well, we'll have to see about that immunity thing, too. He's like, you can't do that. We wrote a binding contract and all this other stuff because my lawyer signed it.
Right. Yes.
And
Even the criminals have lawyers.
yep. And the whole thing is like they keep talking about that. Then it goes back to the other, all the other shit. I know it jumps all over the fucking place in this movie.
Well, it is one of those type of movies.
Yeah, there's 2 plot lines, so it's gonna do that.
Yeah.
So
That's the chaos that is a Larry Cohen.
yes, yes, it is. So it jumps back. If you find out the guy who basically told old David Carradine this stuff of all the Aztec things, it's basically in on it. He's going to be one of the sacrifices to appease Quetzalcoatl.
Right.
And he basically ends up getting shot by a cop because he says, "Oh, you're just coming at me with a scalpel," even though he really wasn't. He was basically trying to sacrifice himself since the priest couldn't do it anymore because the priest is running. When they're on the roof, oh god, I remember that too. There's a really funny scene in a cab where Shaq and this cop that's been staking out the place as a fucking mime. Yes, he's staking out the place as a mime.
So Shaft is a mime?
No, not Shaft. It's the cop that's the mime. He's not.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the whole thing is that he's there.
He's
And
pretending to be a mime.
No, yeah, he's pretending to be a mime, juggling all this shit. Made money. What happens is he says like they're in the taxi cab, that the cop car actually, and they go in there, and he says, "Who would believe there's a cult in the like an Aztec cult in the '80s?" He says the '80s, and then Shaft says, "Who the fuck would believe there's a cop dressed the way this guy is?" But yeah, they go on the roof. They're chasing the priest. He's basically a Mexican looking dude. And Quetzalcoatl picks Shaft up and drops him.
Of course.
So Shaft's character's dead.
You dead, Shaft.
And that goes back to the Chrysler building. No. Before that, it's Moriarty's character's basically back at his apartment. He's pissed at his girlfriend because she tried to tell him to do the right thing and, not be a greedy asshole about it. And then she says, like, he's like saying, "You betrayed me. You did all this other stuff. And why would you do this to me? I thought we had something special." And she's like, "No, the reason I did it is because I've seen what happened when you have power, and I don't like that. It's not a good person. Now, if you need, now go walk and clear your head." And he breaks. That's like him being mad. And he just like looks so defeated. Like he's like, wow.
What a fucking.
Because it's like that's the only thing he had was her, and then she says basically go and walk.
Yeah, of course.
And so he's like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And I'll ask someone to come get my things, and if you get tired of it, just throw them all in the incinerator.
I'm gonna ask a big giant flying dinosaur to come get my stuff for me. So make sure you're home when he's here.
It's a she dinosaur because it laid the egg.
Oh yes, that's right. So it's not asexual then.
No.
So then there should be 3 of them, shouldn't there?
I guess maybe one. I don't know.
Don't you need a male?
No, I'll explain it. I'll get to it. So,
okay.
So then that happens. He's on the walk and everything else, and they basically have to shoot at the Chrysler building. A lot more cops die. It looks actually really funny when they all fall and everything because it's not CGI; it's claymation dolls falling.
Oh, okay, wow, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the beast is in claymation, so a lot of the times you see bodies falling or anything else, it's claymation.
Okay. I mean, claymation was kind of big, so.
Yeah, it was. They basically shoot the hell out of it, dies in an Aztec-style looking building. Then we finally go back to Michael Moriarty's character. He's like in this, like, the Skids Row buildings. He's by himself. Someone knocks at his door. It's the priest who's been running for this whole time, saying, "I've come to kill you because you betrayed Quetzalcoatl. You spurned her gifts. Now I'm gonna make you pay for your sins." He's like, no. He basically says that to him, like, "Lean up on the knife. Don't do that. Stop doing this to me." He's like, "No," but he's like, "Well, go ahead and do it then." He's like, "I can't do it till you ask forgiveness and pray." He's like, "I'm not fucking praying. People tell my life all to pray. Gangsters told me to pray. Cops told me to pray. I ain't praying for you."
I ain't praying nothing.
Yeah. And so then David Carradine's character breaks through the door. Basically keeps shooting this guy. He shoots him like 6 times. And he's still dead.
Right.
Because it's like, and he says like, "Man, this bastard's really hard to kill," and all this other stuff. And then it ends up with Michael Moriarty leaving. He's like saying, like, they say the same line of, "What the fuck do I know?" But he says, "What the fuck do I know?" Because he's basically going to try to be an actual good person now. He says, "Your girlfriend," because David Carradine says, "Your girlfriend's waiting for you." He's like, "No, I can't go back to her yet. I have to go and get a job first and try to straighten my life out." So it's really, like I said, it's really the hero's journey for Jim in the entire thing.
Right, yes. Who you're not necessarily expecting to be the hero, I guess.
Yeah, you don't expect it. You kind of
he does lead those guys to their death in the beginning.
Yeah, but he did feel kind of bad about it, even though he did have like
right.
he was really excited when it happened. He's like, I didn't do nothing wrong. Those guys just gave me a hard time. He tries to justify it to himself several times too.
Right.
I mean, they probably were going to kill him if they didn't get the diamonds. I mean, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, he's the character you sympathize with.
Yeah, he's a very unsympathetic. Some people would say maybe he's unsympathetic for the stuff he does, but it's not really his fault. He kind of did feel the way he had to do it to, do something.
Yeah, he's a guy who's constantly pushed around. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck.
Yeah, he definitely seems that type. It almost always seems to me too that he does come from a very, very rough background of being an orphan, being abandoned, living on the streets. I'm nothing but a street kid. You wouldn't know what that's like. All this other stuff he usually says throughout the entire movie. Cops tell me what to do. nuns told me what to do. Everybody told me what to do my entire life, and I told them to go fucking shove it.
Yeah, and he does still have morals, but it's almost
Yes.
like he's constantly struggling to uh, keep that standard.
Hmm.
And it's always an outside force that pushes him to a point where he just won't keep that standard for his morals.
I do like the fact that him and David Carradine seem to be like on good terms throughout the whole thing till he does that whole stuff with them. Like it seems like David Carradine's character's trying to help him.
Yeah, back when
It
David Carradine could act.
yeah. I do find it funny that they kind of end on more good terms and that they
Yes.
like repeat the lines. But the way this movie ends, it does end with a teaser. So it goes to another building that's half destroyed, right? And there's an egg in that, and it hatches, and then
Oh,
that's the end credits. Yeah,
that's like the Godzilla '98 ending.
yeah. And
So did
that's
they ever make a Q2?
no, they did not. Larry Cohen never made a Q2.
Q2. See, see how well it works? Q2.
QT.
Q2. QT. Q2 is a QT. Oh my god, that's bad. See,
no, Larry.
they should have done that. They could make a sequel right the fuck now.
Yeah. Except like it wouldn't be as good. It'd be probably CGI.
No, yeah, of course not. I mean, you could bring back Michael Moriarty.
Yeah, you could bring back his character like being a successful like musician now and all this other stuff, but he ends up like getting mixed back up in some stupid shit for some reason, or he helps the police try to track down another one of these things.
Yeah.
But he's always a little hesitant because I keep trying to force him to have a gun. And he like sees, why does everyone try to give me a revolver? I don't fire nothing in my life, and people keep trying to give me guns.
Yeah, and he's still acting.
Yeah.
Because that brings me to get away from Q
Hmm.
and to kind of get off the movies. It brings me to Larry Cohen's Master of Horror
Hmm.
episode
Yep. The
where
Last
he
Hitchhiker.
no, it's called Pick Me Up.
Oh, pick me up. That's right. Right.
But it is about hitchhikers,
Yeah.
sort of,
It's
a
so it's
little bit.
basic. Yeah. It's based on the urban legend kind of stuff, right?
Well, what it is Pick Me Up is about two serial killers.
Okay.
It's about a serial killer that's a hitchhiker
Hmm.
and a serial killer that's a truck driver that
Oh.
picks up hitchhikers.
Oh boy.
And they're all in this swath of road, I guess you could call it, this one road they're on. And you basically follow. Michael Moriarty plays the truck driver.
Of course he does.
And he's really fucking good. And the hitchhiker is played by a younger guy. I guess he's kind of going for the Rutger Hauer hitchhiker sort of thing, you know?
Hmm.
But he's got this fascination with snakes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But the whole thing sort of becomes a competition between the truck driver serial killer and the hitchhiker serial killer.
Hmm.
And they both know that they're out there. They just don't know. They've never met each other, so they don't know which one is which. And there's a bus that's got, I want to call her Feruza Balk. I think that's her name. She's the villain in The Craft. Do you remember? Do you remember that girl?
Kind of.
She's got like a weird. She's got kind of like a weird face.
Yeah.
I think her name is Feruza Balk, even though that kind of sounds like a Harry Potter character.
It does.
I don't know who would name their kid that, but all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So she's on a bus that's taking people places, and the bus sort of breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
And what you get is you get some people leaving with the truck driver. The truck driver stops and he sees the bus that's broken down. And he gets some people leaving with the truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hitchhiker sort of walks up to the bus because he notices that it's broken down. And he walks up. He walks up after the truck driver leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them end up killing people from the bus. The hitchhiker kills everybody at the bus, and the truck driver kills everybody that went with him in the truck, which is only like two people. Yeah. One of them is like a 70-year-old slut. She definitely was a lot lizard at some point in her life because they make all kinds of innuendos and comments to each other and everything like that. But what happens is Feruza Balk, that's just what I'm going to call her. Feruza Balk, she kind of hitches off on her own. She just starts walking away from the bus before any of this shit kind of happens. So she just goes off, and eventually she makes it to a motel. Well, before she makes it to the motel, the hitchhikers killed everybody, and the truck driver comes back to the bus to see people, to get people, I guess. And he finds all the people dead. And he walks into the woods and he finds one of the survivors out there who the hitchhiker had like tied to a tree and left for dead. And he's out there because he's tracking this. He knows the hitchhiker exists. Like I said, they know that they exist because there are killings happening on their stomping grounds that they didn't do.
Yeah.
So he comes back out there for evidence to see if anything's happening. And this girl's screaming, "Help me, help me, help me," and all this stuff. And he's like, and Michael Moriarty's like, "Shut the fuck up, bitch!" And he stabs her a bunch of times.
What accent does he use, by the way, for that throughout the entire thing?
He's got an accent. It's not the accent that he has in the stuff.
Oh no, you gave the title away. No,
that's what we're saving for last is the stuff.
What a shock. The best movie he made.
Yeah, the best Larry Cohen movie ever. One of the best B movies ever.
It is.
But he's definitely got like a trucker accent, sort of I don't want to say Arkansas for some reason that keeps popping up, but it's not
a southern style accent, but not.
It's kind of southern,
but not as southern as the stuff.
It's more southern Midwest than it is like what's he supposed to be? He's supposed to be like from Kentucky or something in the stuff, right?
I think so. Either he's from Kentucky or like Tennessee or somewhere like that.
It's more of like a southern Midwest accent, I would say.
Gotcha.
So eventually for some reason they both focus in on this girl, Fairuza Balk. I don't know what gets them. I don't know why, but they just both zero in on her, and she sort of becomes a competition for both of them. It may be because she's like a survivor and she can defend herself, because they show a little bit of that in the episode. She's always got a knife and shit like that. You know, she knows how to take care of herself, and she's coming from she just left her husband or something who beat her, something like that. You know, it's one of those people who, you know, they drift around from town to town because their life is so rough. That kind of girl.
Yeah, I got you. Lot lizards in the making.
Yeah, she's basically a lot lizard in the making. So then eventually they get to the hotel where they do some like horror tropes, you know, like she's in the shower and the window is all steamy, and like the hitchhiker is like scratching on the window with the knife and shit, sort of fucking with her. And then she has a room, right? And on the left side of the room, the hitchhiker serial killer is staying. And on the right side of the room, the truck driver serial killer is staying. So she's in between both of them. She comes outside. The truck driver is
I didn't know it was going to be a threesome. I mean,
yeah, it gets very because at that time, then eventually they're all standing outside the motel, the three of them, and the truck driver and hitchhiker, they're giving these small little cues to each other that, like, I know who you are. Like, this one's mine. I'm better than you. You know, I'm older, more experienced. Respect your elders, type of thing.
So, who is the older serial killer? Is the truck driver or the hitchhiker?
Yes, Michael Moriarty, the truck driver, is the older serial killer. The hitchhiker serial killer is like he's just like a normal, sort of just good looking guy. He kind of wears like he dressed like a cowboy almost.
You know what'd be funny to me anyways, if they actually made it so it was the opposite way around. They made like Michael Moriarty's character with that against Joe Estevez for the fucking hitchhiker. Just some old ass hitchhiker with Joe Estevez.
Oh, I'd love to see Joe Estevez in more movies. or like more like even things like Masters of Horror, where you could really utilize Joe Estevez.
Yeah.
So then eventually they get him in the car. They get her in the truck, you know?
Yeah.
And they sort of both say that they're going to work together to kill her, but then they don't. Like, then the competition starts to take over and they start to fight. And she sort of, the hitchhiker, he's got this thing about snakes, right? Where he will step in front of a car to stop a car from running over a snake that's crossing the road. And then he will pick up the snake and
I thought you said the trucker was the one with the snake thing.
no, it's the hitchhiker.
Okay.
So then they're driving. This is towards the end. They're driving, and there's a snake in the road, and the hitchhiker's like, "No, come on, you're gonna hit the snake. Don't hit the snake." And Michael Marty just steps on the gas, just right over this fucking snake. And then eventually she kind of gets away. And then I think there is a spoiler alert for people who haven't seen it. There's a little bit of a reveal that Fairuza Balk's character was also sort of a serial killer in the making. Like she had kind of just started, and one of her first couple kills now are these two serial killers.
I see.
So there's some stuff happens at the end that I can't exactly remember. There's definitely something with the truck that gets pulled over. There's some stabbing or some punching that goes on while they're all riding.
It's a stabbing in the shower.
But what I really liked about the idea was, because I'm into like true crime serial killers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just like the idea that there were, there's always been this sort of myth or legend about serial killers that don't compete in the same stomping ground. Like it's almost as if they will know when one of them is working that area and they don't go to that area.
So you'd like it because it's more of a play on that whole
it's more of a play on this whole thing of like what happens when two serial killers they take the hitchhiker serial killer and they take the truck driver serial killer, which are sort of both urban legends in their own right.
They are.
And he kind of melds them together. What happens when these two run into each other? And this truck driver picks up hitchhikers, and this hitchhiker gets rides, and they're both serial killers. And I really like that idea. I thought it was very unique.
Yep. It's Larry Cohen, obviously. So it's gonna be really
exactly, totally. And it's one of the better Master of Horror episodes for the show.
What season was it?
That's the first season.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely have that one on DVD. I only have the first season. I do not have the second season.
It only had 2 seasons, right?
There's only 2 seasons. I think somebody said Fear 13 or something like that was supposed to be the 3rd season of Masters of Horror, which I think got crowdfunded. And I think it had Robert Englund in it.
Huh.
I can't remember exactly. If Rock was here, he would know because he's the one who.
Rock, where are you in our time of need?
He was the one who told me that. So, yeah, Strog, honor among psychos. It's that thing of where, they respect each other for what they're doing, but both of them are claiming, they're claiming the right to kill on that road, in that town, in that area. So you don't get to, and it's a rivalry thing. It's a competition thing now. Neither of them, if either of them were in different areas and there was no serial killer there wouldn't be a fucking problem, Yeah. So one of the better Master of Horror episodes, I would definitely say Larry Cohen. I can't remember if he did anything in the 2nd season or not.
It doesn't look like it, at least not the credits I saw. But
I think the 2nd season might even be a little shorter than the 1st season.
It possibly could have been.
I remember the reason I did not buy the 2nd season is because it was in a stupid box set that wouldn't have fit on my shelf properly.
Oh, God.
The first one is sort of in like this crypt thing where you take the top off the crypt and then it's got all the DVDs there and like these little slots. It's like they're in like these little slots that you pick them up in. They're almost like filed. But you can't read it. You got to pick it up and see which one it is. You got to actually take it out of the box. But it's an all right, box. So, it's better than because I think season 2 was in like this round case that didn't stand up at all. It was stupid.
Let's see. Speaking, let me just go down here a minute. I wanted to see because I think I remember something else. Where is it? I'm looking for it and I don't see it. There was a television series, Larry, that was in that documentary, remember, that talked about the invasion of the body snatchers, all that stuff. That was basically.
Which was it? What was it again?
I don't remember the title of it. It was like Invaders something or another.
The Invaders?
Yeah, I think that's what Larry Cohen did as a TV series.
Yeah, that was like the first thing he did. The Invaders. Yeah. It's sort of like I don't know if it's based in the same universe or not, but it's sort of a play on the whole Invasion of the Body Snatchers thing.
Which is funny because he did write the 1989 Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
What was that called? Invasion?
I think it was just called Body Snatchers.
Body Snatchers?
Yep.
Is that the one where the cover has like the pink?
Yeah.
It's like breaking open and there's like
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I remember which one you're talking about now.
Mhm.
I've only seen that once, I think.
Yeah. I've only seen it like not too many times.
I
Probably.
mean, I would
once or
probably take
so.
another look at it now that I know Larry Cohen.
Did you ever see
wrote
the
it.
film Special Effects by Larry Cohen?
No, I have not.
That is a horror thriller.
Okay.
So the whole plot of that is it's basically a guy trying to find his girlfriend with a director that basically makes like snuff films in his house.
Okay, that sounds fucking crazy.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I just saw like a bit of it because I think Larry Cohen actually films himself in the movie while making the movie.
A director makes a movie based on a murder he committed. Okay. I'm just checking it out now.
Mhm.
I mean, every time I get like a synopsis or a title for a Larry Cohen film, I'm like, I need to see this movie now.
Mhm.
Like that's how it was with God Told Me To, right?
Yep.
I had always heard about that movie, but I never got a chance to watch it. It is free on YouTube if anybody
Yes, it
wants to
is.
watch it. You can watch God Told Me To, and you can watch the stuff on
Yep.
YouTube as well. They're free if you just type it in.
And you can watch Q the Winged Serpent on Shout Factory TV.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's where I was gonna go, but I didn't get enough time to watch it today.
Yeah. I didn't get enough time to watch all the stuff, but I know that movie like in and out, so it's not a big deal. I love that movie so much. What I was
But
gonna
I would
say,
totally watch this movie. You know,
yeah.
it's even got a really fucking dude. The poster
Mhm.
on IMDb is
For special
pretty.
effects, yeah.
It's pretty fucking 80s. It looks radical.
Yeah.
Nice shit.
Oh, by the way, you could see in both special effects, and you could see in Q the Winged Serpent, they have several shots of the Twin Towers building.
Of course they did.
There's like several
I'm sorry.
times you see the Twin Towers throughout Q the Winged Serpent as well, by the way.
Is King Kong standing on top of them?
It should be, but he's not. That's why they chose the Chrysler building instead of the Twin Towers, especially since they had that set studio they had there.
Did you see Original Gangsters?
I
I
I did
saw
not
it
see
this
Original
drug.
Gangsters.
I have not. I have not seen Original Gangsters.
But you know you know what me and you have seen and that we always highly praise is Maniac
Maniac
Cop.
Cop.
Maniac Cop. Yep. All three of them produced by Larry Cohen and written by
Yes.
Larry Cohen.
Maniac Cop is so great, especially the first one. It's got our boy Bruce in it
It does. And the second one for a short.
for a short period of time before they tragically kill him off.
But to be fair, the lead actor who they have to replace him's not a bad dude at all.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? I can't remember.
No, I can't remember either.
He's a crater-faced Italian.
Yeah, and he's a conservative too.
Yeah, he's always on Fox or some shit like that. Hold on, I got Maniac Cop 2 here. Let me see for because he's in the third one as well.
Yes, he is. He lights his fucking smokes with his arm. That's on fire.
Yeah, that's right. Badass motherfucker. Robert Davey.
Yeah, Robert Davies.
That's his name. Michael Lerner, whose brother is also in the other ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
Leo Rossi Leo Rossi's in the first one as like the mayor's assistant or something.
Yeah, he's really sleazy. Remember?
Yeah, and then he shows up in 2, and he's even sleazier.
Yep.
And Clarence Williams the third is in there, who he's great. He's really old now, but Clarence Williams is he was in Tales from the Hood. Remember we talked about those?
Oh
movies?
God.
Robert Earl Jones.
Yeah, wait. Didn't Clarence play the blonde guy that's in 2? Isn't that
I think so. That might be Robert Earl Jones.
Oh yeah, actually that is Robert Earl Jones. You're right.
Who is what's his name's brother?
I don't remember. Oh,
Or
James
father,
Earl Jones.
or father.
It's James Earl Jones' father. Yes.
Yes. They're both Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course we can't forget the chin to end all chins.
Robert Zadar.
Robert Zadar,
Rest in
who
peace.
yes, and that's really what's great about Maniac Cop, the first one, is that you get the chin of Bruce Campbell and the chin of Robert Zadar both in the same movie.
Yes.
Which I can't we've talked about this several times about the greatness of both chins.
Yep.
And I don't think you can name another movie that has as much chin. It's probably a Chinese film.
Yeah.
It would have to be a Chinese film that has as much chin.
Like See China and Die, which is also a film by Robert Cohen.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. I think it's a thriller more than anything else, but I just brought up just as a joke. I'm not gonna really talk about it, obviously, because I've not seen that film in a long time. But
so what brings Robert Zadar back from the dead in Maniac Cop? Because I never remember. I know it's different in the second and the third one.
In the first one, it's the fact he wasn't fully dead. He was just on the brink of death, so he has brain damage.
Okay.
And the other one, it was the fact, even though he was pierced, he wasn't dead. He basically crawled himself out because he can live through a lot of shit. And then the third one, it's like, even though he was on fire, voodoo brings him back.
Voodoo brings him back in the third one. I know that. And then, isn't there like a woman in the third one?
Yeah, the female Maniac Cop who he's going to make his bride.
Yes, the bride of Maniac Cop.
Yep. Because you got to have your Frankenstein types of that.
Yes, you always have to, especially since Robert Zadar's got that. He's got that head, that massive head of his.
Yep. The killings have to stop, Matt. They just need to stop.
But eventually, Bruce Campbell figures it out, and he goes on this whole fucking crusade with what is it? He's got another woman cop with him in that one, right?
Yes, he does.
Because
it's the one he was been fucking on the side that was,
right, because Maniac Cop kills his wife.
Yes.
Right? And did they ever say it's just a coincidence that his wife did, or is Maniac Cop sort of blaming him for things or setting him up or something?
It was setting him up because they had a similar build and everything else, especially the way Bruce acted too as a cop.
So even with brain damage, Maniac Cop still has some agency.
Yes.
Okay.
What's really funny too is remember that one killer that he's with, and the second one thinks he's his friend, but it doesn't turn out to be his friend. He's just trying to use them all.
Yeah, that's Leo Rossi.
Yep.
Yeah. Because he thinks he can control him or whatever.
Yep.
Or
you're my friend.
Yeah, you're my friend now, which is kind of also Frankenstein-y.
Yep.
And then Leo Rossi gets thrown into the water and drowns with flowers like Frankenstein. No, that doesn't happen.
No, that doesn't happen. He gets set on fire. If I remember correctly.
We back the blue here, boys. That's right. Yeah, we do.
That's true.
It's very true. Hey, killing is natural instinct, says fuck. You're damn right. Maniac Cop, blast from the past.
Yep.
Zadar as a
plays
great villain. Yeah. Yep. We've talked immensely about Maniac Cop on this show.
We have.
And we really enjoy it.
Another one we could bring up that's another written piece by Larry Cohen that a lot of people say is an underrated cult film would probably be Uncle Sam.
Okay. Uncle Sam we brought up briefly when we did slasher flicks.
Yes.
It's about a military member who dies by friendly fire in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War.
Yep.
And his body makes its way back, and he's basically back alive, right?
Yeah.
He's back from the dead.
Yep.
And he wears right, and he wears a costume of Uncle Sam
because he's super patriotic.
Right, and he goes around killing people.
Yep. Because they didn't sacrifice their freedom enough like he did.
No, of course not. Yeah, of course. That's got to be. I'm sure Larry Cohen is trying to tell us something. I never think that though. You could look at It's Alive and try to turn it into something about abortion.
Yeah.
Or you could look at The Stuff and turn it into something about consumerism, or you could look at God Told Me To and turn it into something about mental health or
Mhm.
religion or something like that. But Larry Cohen, even if there's a message there, I couldn't tell you what it is.
It's chaos. That's what the
It's
message
just
is.
chaos. Like Larry Cohen, like maybe there's a message, but he's not spending all this time pushing the message.
No.
Is just trying to entertain you with a movie, and it just so happens that these certain things happen in the film.
Yes.
And if you want to take away this message of this or that, you're kind of watching Larry Cohen films wrong,
Yeah.
because it's just
It's a
it's
ride.
just,
It's
at
just a
least
ride.
for me, it's just like I said, you could find a message in there, but then you're not really paying attention to the greatness that is Cohen.
Yeah, the big thing with we won't get to it yet, but I'll say the big thing with the stuff is he did overtly say that yeah, it's about consumerism, like 80s consumerism run amok. But
Yeah,
it's and also the fact of branding and how people just don't always think about stuff when they actually, eat it.
right. Yeah,
But he didn't
there,
like say outright like because this, liberal group or this conservative group. He just says that's just kind of how it was in the 80s. And that's
yeah.
true because a
And
lot of
he's
people did not give a fuck about what it was in the 80s, just put shit in their body.
right, exactly. So Uncle Sam, he comes back from the grave on July 4th to kill the unpatriotic citizens of his hometown after some teens burn an American flag over his burial
Ooh,
site.
wow.
Woo! Let me tell you, there's one flag in this world you don't want to burn, and it's the American flag.
Yep. Even though you technically can, it's guaranteed
Oh,
in the First Amendment,
you
but
are 100% allowed to.
yep.
You are 100% allowed to. It is freedom of speech, but boy, we give a fuck in this country.
Mhm.
Just don't mess with it.
You
Uh,
really shouldn't.
yeah, I didn't get a chance. It's kind of fucking cringy to burn a flag.
It is. It's very
It's it's
stupid.
it's like the very bottom of the activist barrel.
It is.
You know what I
My
mean?
form of protest is this. Why? Why you gotta do that? Can't do anything else. Can't go to the streets. Couldn't write a petition. Couldn't do anything. Now you
No,
decide to do this.
yeah, I would
Decide
say
to do
like
some arsony.
the the only thing below that is like laying in the street or
Yeah.
something like that. Like I can't even stand up for my activism. I'm gonna just lay down.
Yeah.
But yeah, Uncle Sam is directed by William Lustig
Hmm.
or Lustig, whatever. It sounds German. So the Jews and the Germans are working together on this one. He produced the new Maniac Cop.
Oh.
Or I'm sorry, he produced the new Maniac reboot that we
Mm.
watched with Frodo in it.
Oh yeah.
And he's in Darkman, and he plays Fake Shemp in Army of Darkness.
Oh boy.
Let me see what else he's directed here, if there's anything. No, he hasn't directed. The last thing he directed was in 2001, which was called Conducting Dario Argento's Opera.
Oh boy.
But oh, he directed. Okay, he directed Maniac Cop, Maniac Cop 2, and Maniac Cop 3.
Oh,
So
okay.
the same guy who did so the same team up that gave you the Maniac Cop trilogy gave you Uncle Sam.
So 2 movies about how you should love cops and how you should love America. Well, doesn't sound like anything wrong there.
Yeah. Watch the fuck out. Let me see what this is called. Hit List. Let me just check this out real quick. This has nothing. This is one of William Lustig's movie. Hit List. A family man and a mob witness hunt for a hitman who has mistakenly kidnapped the family man's son. That sounds terrible. Yeah, so like you said, we get 3 movies where it's like you better back the blue,
Hmm.
and one movie that says you better back the red, white, and blue motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I like these messages instead of the messages that we were coming up with.
Hmm.
Oh, It's Alive got remade.
Yes, it did. But Larry Cohen also produced it
Okay.
and wrote it, I think, too.
A baby born to human turned out to be a mutant monster with an appetite to kill when scared. See, that is true. They put that in there. To
Yep.
kill when scared. So it is scared in the first one.
Yep.
I think Fucked said that in 2, it's a cult. And in
Oh yeah,
3, it's like an island with adult babies.
yeah.
So now I definitely gonna have to see those
Mhm.
because that sounds a cult. Do they worship the mutant babies? Are they trying to bring back, are
Bring
they?
back baby number one, the chosen one. Let us see hit.
John says it's a live reboot, was low budget, awful. That's funny because Larry Cohen, he's known for working with no budgets.
Why don't you tell the
Uh,
chat about another film you saw today, Jenova?
which one?
Return to Salem's Lot.
Oh, okay. Return to Salem's Lot is awful. Uh, so so in the beginning of Return to Salem's Lot, we start out. Michael Moriarty plays this guy named Joseph,
hmm
and his aunt Clara owns the house or whatever where the writer stays in the first one,
Okay.
something like that. But she dies and she leaves. Uh,
She lives in the house.
she leaves him the house. Now, Joseph is an anthropologist, and
Okay.
he's actually off studying this remote tribe somewhere, and they're
All right.
videotaping a ritual.
Mhm.
And in the ritual, they've got a sacrifice there, and they're cutting the guy's heart out.
Mhm.
And the cameraman is like, "What the fuck, dude? We're just gonna watch them murder this guy." He goes, "It's not our rules.
Yep.
This is the way they live. They've done just fine without us. These are their ways."
Mhm.
And the cameraman goes, "But you told me," he goes, "You told me this was a fertility ritual." And he goes, "Well, this guy did fuck the chieftain's best wife. So that's so in a way, it kind of is a fertility ritual."
Mhm.
So eventually he gets some kind of call. Somebody tells him he's got to come home because his ex-wife and they tell him that his son Jeremy has been hurt.
Okay.
But when he gets there, they're like, "We lied. He's not hurt. We just don't want to deal with him anymore, and we're leaving for another country." And
As you do, you know.
we're tired. I'm tired of taking care of my son, says the mom. The stepdad obviously just doesn't want to fucking put up with it. So they leave, and they leave him there with his son, who Jeremy is just, he's the worst actor in the whole thing because this is back when child actors weren't good.
Mhm.
Uh, and he said, like, he goes, "Well, what's wrong with you, son?" He goes, "Didn't they tell you I'm fucked up?" like, like he's just always cussing. He's always swearing. So eventually he makes his way back to Salem's Lot. Now, the whole time, there's like this weird argument between a couple people there. They bring it up a few times
Mhm.
where is it Salem's Lot or is it Jerusalem's
Of
Lot?
course, they mentioned that because that's the whole thing with Stephen King is that he couldn't decide on the name of the stupid thing, so that's why he shortened it to Salem's Lot. Even though there's a
Right.
short story also called Jerusalem's Lot that has nothing to do with it too.
Um, so basically, the way they get around it is they say it's officially known as Jerusalem's Lot,
Mhm.
but townspeople have shortened it to mean to Salem's Lot. They just
Yeah.
call it Salem's Lot, but it's really Jerusalem's
Even
Lot.
though that's that whole play on that thing is just because Tabitha told him, yeah, you should call it Salem's Lot instead.
Which shouldn't even fucking matter because the town isn't even on the map.
Yeah.
It's just a small town. It's got like 7 people live there, and 9 of them are vampires.
hmm So
So
I did hear an interesting thing when I was watching because I did watch a review about Salem's Lot. And they mentioned Return to Jerusalem, Return to Salem's Lot as well.
return to Jerusalem.
Return to Jerusalem.
Go
Uh,
ahead, Bob at the wall for a little bit.
God, I didn't think about that. But what I will say is the fact that the person brought up that it seems like an interesting idea that the vampires just don't really they're not doing it out of maliciousness, but they just want a community of vampires to like have a town
True.
of vampires.
Right, because well, eventually what you find out is that they brought Joseph there because he's an anthropologist and they want him to write an accurate historical depiction of vampires.
hmm
And they go through the first time he's there, they go through the thing sort of dispelling some of the myths about
hmm
vampires. Like they have one woman, she's a vampire, but she's chopping garlic. And he brings it up. He goes, "You notice she's chopping garlic, and that dispels at least 2 rumors about garlic itself and vampires." And then he goes, "See, look at this mirror. My reflection is as clear as yours."
Yep.
And so they do have reflections. There are some of that. Now, the problem with it is he meets some townspeople who are known as drones. And drones are basically just like in the first Salem's Lot or Fright Night. They basically take care of everything during the day. They are basically slaves to the vampires, but
Yeah, so
they're not
basically
vampires.
what the whole thing in that is too is that they're more like they're familiars because they're people that are
Right.
bound to
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
happens with by the way, that is what happens with David Callahan in the book, who was the priest, because he basically gets confronted by Barlow and Barlow forces him to drink his blood, and he basically can't go to the church anymore because he's corrupted.
right. Yes.
And he was a priest that was a drunkard too. He's like a drunkard priest.
I would be a drunkard if I was a priest too. Um.
Oh,
So,
sorry, not to
oh,
get
go
off this
ahead. Go
topic,
ahead.
but I realized that there was a TV series made on another one besides the one in the 70s. There was another one made in 2004. And can you guess who plays Barlow in that?
Who?
Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer plays Barlow.
Yes.
Back to his vampire roots, huh?
Yep.
See, I would watch it just for that because
Mm.
Rutger Hauer plays the evil vampire in Buffy as well.
Yes, he does.
In the Buffy movie, the Buffy movie's actually not that bad.
But you know, it's actually more close to Stephen King's book, this miniseries, than the one that was in the 70s
Of
because
course.
I mean, but the whole thing with that is that, you know, at least the weird thing about why they made the vampires so, monstrous looking is because it was the idea that vampires are like evil and just a plague, that they're, a plague infection kind of thing. Where in this
Yeah.
one, it's more the fact it can be reasoned with, talked with, all this other stuff. And it's just like 2 old dudes going somewhere and making a town full of just their people because they feel like it.
Sounds so boring.
Rucker Howard plays a great role in it, though. He is
Yeah,
intimidating and creepy to watch as Barlow. I saw a
yeah,
clip of it. I'm like, wow, he's doing a great job.
that would be the reason I watch it for Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch because I can't. I remember what you're talking about, and I'm pretty sure the 2 main actors are really bad,
Yeah.
like the kid and the father, whoever he's supposed to be.
Father Callahan, yeah.
Yeah, Vampire No State. Yep. I'm a Nosferatu guy. Yeah. We've talked about Nosferatu a couple times too. Christopher Lee was the best vampire after Lugosi, says Groomed. Drag
I,
Me to Hell is
I like
great.
Max Shrek personally as my vampire of choice.
Max Shrek is not bad at all. I'm going to go with Twilight. I mean, got
What?
the, yeah, it's just such a great vampire film.
Okay, nice troll. What are you really gonna say? What are you
I,
gonna really go with? Are you gonna go for Fright Night or something else?
uh,
Fright Night 2 has the female vampire.
the best depiction of vampires. Is that what
We,
we're looking at?
I guess it just pick something that's different.
John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah, that's true too. Or what is it? I fucking just forgot the other one. Dusk.
Oh, Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep.
Dusk Till Dawn's got a great depiction of vampires as well. We'll have to do a whole show on vampires.
I thought we almost did one.
We almost did one.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing one on werewolves, so we'll talk about the fact that it will mention it here, but vampires and werewolves have become really stock characters from their origins of being just
It's
myth and
true.
legend.
Yeah. Underworld says fuck
Yep.
just for Kate in that suit. Yeah, she's really hot in that fucking that skin tight suit.
But
Strog says Blade is best vampire. Man, I might not even disagree with you on that. Blade 1 and 2. I really enjoy both of those movies. The Reapers that are in Blade 2, it's great. Now I know not everybody likes, but I like Blade in 1 and 2. The third one is very bad.
doesn't the third one at least have the fucking dude that's a vampire cop in it though? Hannibal Caine or whatever his name is.
Maybe. It's been so long.
I think he's also played by Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, Ryan, yeah, he's not a cop in that movie. And
He's supposed to be.
that might be his name. No, they're just vampire hunters in the movie.
Yeah, he's
He might
supposed
have
to
been a cop at some point for his backstory,
Yeah, cop
Uh,
vampire hunter. Yeah,
but I think I saw Blade 3 once and I was done with it. I
yeah.
was like, no, I'm done. I was even towards the end of like Blade 2, I was like, because I really like that movie. I like what they did with the Reapers,
Mhm.
but the end of that movie turns into like a vampire wrestling match where they're doing like elbow drops off the wall and shit.
Yeah,
It's
that's yeah. I
fucking
remember. It's
bad.
real. Yeah, it's bad.
The third
Anyway,
one is one of my guilty pleasures, says Porky. Yeah. Third one has Triple H. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, Triple H, he's got that stupid dog. It's fucking terrible.
God. All right,
Um,
let's get away from vampires.
just, I mean, we'll stay on vampires with Return to Salem's Lot.
Yeah, true.
So basically, they want him to write the history of like an accurate history of vampires and stuff. So they hold his kid hostage.
Okay.
Now, what you find out is that the kids in this are vampires as
Oh,
well.
are they?
They even show them, there's a kind of a creepy scene in it, actually, that if it wasn't a if it I don't know if this was a TV movie or not.
It is. Yes, it's a
Okay.
TV movie.
If it would have just been a Larry Cohen film, and it wouldn't have been like a Salem's Lot sequel, but something else with vampires, it could have
Yeah.
been a better movie.
I don't.
The
Someone had to have pushed for that instead of him.
Probably, well, you know how he says, you got to give and take. That's how you make the most money. So,
Yeah.
you do something for them, and then he gets clout to be able to direct a film that he really wants to direct after that because he
Hmm.
did this. So, um, but what happens is there's a really cool scene where there's two guys out in the woods and they're by a campfire. They're obviously some sort of tramps
Hmm.
or criminals of some sort or whatever. And these two little girls pop out from behind a tree and they're just staring at them. And they're like Village of the Damned age kids. They're
Yeah.
very young. So they're like, "Oh, hey, little girls, why don't you come over here? We'll show you who we really are." They're trying to like molest and kill these girls, I guess.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, another kid pops out, and they're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then another kid, and they just start popping out from the bushes. And the one guy's like, "If they get too close, I'm gonna punch them. I'm gonna knock these kids out." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, you hit a kid, you go to jail. We're done." And then the kids just jump on him and kill him and eat him.
Oh.
So it's a pretty good scene the way they play it out. Would have been better in a different Larry Cohen movie
Hmm.
because the editing in Return to Salem's Lot is fucking awful. I I don't know who the editor was for that. I don't know if he's done other Cohen films or what else he's done, but holy shit, the editing is so fucking bad. They will show you a shot, like a wide shot of two people talking, and then they'll do a close up into one person's face, and that person will have all this emotion and they'll be real pissed, and then they'll go back to the same wide cut and there's no emotion happening at all.
Oh
And
boy.
there'll be like these jerky sort of sudden cuts. Really fucking bad editing.
Yeah.
So eventually they kidnap his kid to force him to do all these things, and the whole
Mhm.
time Michael Moriarty is he's walking around town trying to figure out like weaknesses and how to get away and how to do all this kind of thing,
Mhm. Yeah.
and they make his kid fall in love with another girl that's his age who's also a vampire, and she takes him to a child wedding.
Oh god.
So they're in a church, and there's like two 8-year-olds in a bride and groom's outfit, and they're getting
Insert Southern jokes here.
yeah, and they're getting married. And I don't think Stephen King had anything to do with this, but it does remind me of something Stephen King would do because he loves the whole child
Yeah.
like imposition of sexual whatever that
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's that edgy boy thing, I guess.
Edgy boy. Edgy
Yeah.
boy.
So they trap him off, and eventually he runs into a character who he's like a Van Helsing type character,
Mm-hmm.
and he runs into him in an antique store, and this Van Helsing type character is he's looking for somebody in a picture, but they won't tell him who it is, but he knows this person is there.
Mhm.
Now, this character, I just kept his name isn't Van Helsing in any way, but I kept calling him Van Helstein because he's a Jew that hunts down Nazis who escaped the Nuremberg trials during World War II.
Oh, so
So
he hunts
he's
down the legal ones, like the people from Project Paper.
right. So he's hunting down Nazi officers. So I just call him Van Helstein and or Van Helstein, whatever you want to fucking call him.
Mr. McShuckles.
And they ask him like, how many Nazis have you arrested? And he said, none. I shoot them when I find them. But apparently one of the vampires was the vampire. The one he's looking for is a vampire. And he was a vampire even before World War II. He'd been a vampire for like 400 years.
Oh.
He's not, he just so happened to be in that area and be part of the whole thing when that event in history was going down. He could have very easily been, Japanese or something else,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just a coincidence that he happened to be a high-ranking Nazi officer.
Just a coincidence,
right? So vampires, they've got all these drones, right, that are supposed to take care of them in the daytime. But Moriarty and Van Helstein, they just sort of they take care of them all in like the daytime. They take care of the drones in the daytime. The majority of them get taken out. So that leaves all the vampires open because they're all in their coffins now, right? And the majority of the town is vampires. So then they do the whole obligatory stake through the heart scenes where they're going from house to house. They're finding the coffins and they're sticking the stakes in their heart and then they're burning the places down. So they start burning down Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
And eventually the head vampire, he gets notified by one of his drones and she's like, they're burning everything. They're killing everybody. And he says, let me sleep. I'm trying to sleep. Just let me sleep. And he goes, well, they're killing everybody. And he goes, oh, we're ushering out. We're getting rid of old blood. We'll bring new blood in. Don't worry about it. And he goes, just let me get a couple more hours of sleep. It's still daytime outside.
Mom, I don't want to go to school.
So he does go back to sleep. He goes back to sleep. They continue their onslaught. And then eventually he meets them at the church somewhere where they steal his kid from him. Because they put him in a sanctuary place because Van Helstein knows about this place. He goes, as long as it hasn't been desecrated or anything like that, it's still considered sanctuary, so they can't get in there. Well, eventually they leave Jeremy, the son, in there to be safe, but then the girl that he likes, who's also a vampire, she does the whole floating outside of the window thing, like in the first one,
Yeah.
She does that. They leave, they kidnap him. And apparently the vampires do this thing where they take their humans and it's almost like a cult type initiation where to propagandize you or to hypnotize you or whatever, to put you under their control, they make you believe that you're dead already. And they put you in a coffin, and it's this weird sort of self-hypnosis type of thing.
I get you.
So then eventually they have to go to the school because that's where the head vampire is. And everybody knows him, but through the whole movie they keep saying one time I pissed him off and I saw his true face. Like people keep talking about his true face. And eventually a fight ensues and they kill a bunch of the vampires. And then you get to see the head vampire's true face, which does not look as good as the special effects, the makeup in Salem's Lot, the original one.
Yeah, which that's actually funny because they had to cut a lot of that out too.
Yeah. So the special effects, the makeup effects aren't too bad for the vampire's final form. But they are not up to par if you're a fan of the original Salem's Lot.
Again, this movie would probably do a lot better if it was not called Salem's Lot Return.
I agree 100%. If Larry Cohen was able to do his own vampire movie, he could have used a lot of stuff from this film and made his own thing, and it would have been a lot better. Yeah. But working with material from Stephen King is very it,
And it's
it's
only a sequel in name only, too, really.
Larry Cohen is such a sort of a chaotic and explosive writer.
Hmm.
He's not like Stephen King is the type of guy that Larry Cohen made fun of in the interview, where he
Yeah.
talks about how writers have to do this within the first 10 pages, and then this has to happen, and then this
Yeah.
has. Larry Cohen does not write like that, but Stephen King certainly does.
Yes.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, is Larry Cohen a better writer than Stephen King? I don't
Yes.
know. You know,
Yes.
I
Yes. I will say yes.
I want to say yes because I find Stephen King to be very boring most of the time.
In his time traveling maze, Larry Cohen was in the van just trying to write a story to the stuff and then accidentally hit Stephen King. Oh, whoops.
Accidentally.
Oh, I'm gonna make a shitty film out of this one day.
Clive Barker is better than King. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a whole stream about Stephen King and how terrible he is, and we named a whole bunch of writers that were better than Stephen King. Even Dean Koontz is better than him.
Yeah. Dean Koontz is a lot
Uh,
better than Stephen King.
Stephen King is all about quantity over quality.
Yes.
And his stories weren't even supposed to be connected, and then like he did a fat line and was like he's like, wait a second, what if they're all connected? I can make so much more money.
What if everything's in the same universe? And then it's in another universe outside of it called a macroverse and a microverse, and
and there's a turtle, and then there's a clown, and then Matthew McConaughey is there. It's fucking awful. Some of his ideas are good. It's
yeah, they're
just
not
that
bad ideas. It's just poorly executed.
it's just the fact that they're written by Stephen King.
Yeah,
That's the problem with them. You give
even
them to somebody
even
else.
I have talked about my collection of Stephen King works as my library.
Your collection of Kindle.
Yes, but I will say, even though I don't own it, and I did say the fact that it pretty much ends in the Dark Tower series with the Wizard and Glass being the better ones. The Wolves of Kalia is not a bad, even though that's when it starts getting really stupid. The ones after that are really worse. But the Low Men is an interesting idea. They're guys that basically wear like the whole Ninja Turtle thing of fedoras and suits and look really out of place, right?
Yeah.
But they're not human. They look it, but they're not. When those thin disguises they have off, they're like wolves, like wolf-faced dog men.
Oh.
It's an interesting idea, I think, anyways, because you hadn't seen anything else like that. And the funny thing about it too is the fact that they walk between the dimensions of the like the world that the Dark Tower is set in and our world.
Right, yeah. They walk between the spaces.
Yes.
And like I said, good ideas, but Stephen King.
I know. He has to connect the David Callahan character too. That's how he gets started in the story of the Wolves of Kalia.
Yeah.
That's where he comes back in, and he basically sees these things and thinks they're vampires at first, and realizes, oh no, they're worse than vampires.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we're never going to get rid of Stephen King is just part of our life, and the only thing you can do is just not partake.
Wait for that
in
train. You just wait for that train.
You just wait for that train that has a van in front of it. Yeah, Under the Dome is Stephen King. The television series was so fucking bad.
Yeah.
So that is Return of Salem's Lot. Basically, they kill the head vampire, and then they drive away with the Jew.
Yep.
And that's basically it. They don't really say. There's no real sort of aha, like gotcha ending or anything like that. They just.
We can move on from this now because there is an
please.
The last Betty Davis movie was also done by Larry Cohen, which is Wicked Stepmother.
First of all, Betty Davis is a savage. She was a savage in real life.
Yep.
That woman, watch any interview with her. She is handing out the shit to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
She was a great person in real life. One of the better actresses. And she is in Wicked Stepmother, which is about two witches.
Yep.
that are descend on a family. It's like a comedy fantasy film.
Yeah, what I see in the original, this is what it says. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page just so I could get a reminder. It's been forever since I've seen Wicked Stepmother. I remember it.
I've never seen it, and I should see it because I'm a big fan of Betty Davis.
So it says the original plot cast Davis as their titular character, a chain-smoking witch named Miranda, who married Sam. Yeah, I know, right?
Betty Davis never doesn't have a cigarette in her hand, ever.
Okay, who has married Sam while his vegetarian daughter Jenny and son-in-law Steve are on vacation. They return to find their new stepmother has filled the refrigerator with meat and played havoc with a collection of herbs.
Ooh, herbs, huh? Christian herbs?
I'm sure.
So she filled the refrigerator with meat, and these people were like, hell yeah, best stepmom ever.
No, they were mad because they're vegetarian. To explain Davis's her daughter's the vegetarian.
Oh, why? So now,
okay, I'm going to continue reading it for you.
So I already hate the main characters. Go ahead.
You can only, you hate Barbara Carrera. That's who plays her daughter.
Yeah,
even though she's busty, I think. All right.
She's busty.
Maybe that's. I don't know if that's her in this fucking poster I'm looking at. That might be Betty Davis again. I can't tell.
Okay, go ahead.
To explain Davis's absence, the script was written to introduce Miranda's daughter Priscilla, who has taken. Oh wait, okay, so no. So yeah, she has Priscilla. So that's who that is. Okay, that is not the vegetarian who's taken the human form while her stepmother's spirit body inhabits the body of a cat. Priscilla then sets out to get Jenny, who has figured out that something is going on. She is accused of her messing up the kitchen while Jenny is on a bike ride. Priscilla ends up sleeping with Jenny's husband.
They both have to inhabit the cat. There can only be one of them in human form at a time.
Okay, I got you.
So they take turns in the cat. Yeah.
So yeah, the entire time she refuses to switch bodies with Miranda. Jenny then figures out that they're witches.
Well, is Miranda a fat pig? Because I don't know if I want to switch bodies with Miranda.
No, that's Priscilla, who's the one who doesn't want to change. And Miranda's played by Betty Davis.
Oh, okay.
That's why she doesn't want to switch bodies with her mother because she doesn't want to be the cat.
Right.
She's fucking some dude. That probably would throw a bit of a wrench in that whole thing.
Yeah.
He's not gonna get the.
It's a different kind of pussy.
Yeah, exactly. He's not gonna get the pussy he wants. But yeah, that's Wicked Stepmothers. That was also done by Larry Cohen.
I need to see it just because it's got Betty Davis in it.
Mm-hmm.
That girl is fucking. I remember they did a This Is Your Life for Betty Davis, and they always like sneak in to wherever you're at in the beginning.
Yeah.
And like she was in some sort of like fashion. She was with some like fashion magazine people, and they were talking about some new line that they were gonna push.
Yeah.
And they walk in, and like they're like, "Oh, we're here for Betty Davis." Like after a while, because the dude just kind of sits down and just talking to them. He doesn't tell anybody who he is or anything.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and we're here for Betty Davis. This is my life. And she goes, "Oh, that's what this is." Because I was about to tell you to get the fuck out. Because I was like, who the fuck is this guy walking in here? This rude motherfucker. Who does he think he is? I'm surprised she bit her tongue for as long as she did.
Yeah, especially since it's Betty Davis.
The minute he walks in the room, she's glaring at him the whole time. Like, who is this fucking guy?
Who's this asshole?
Dude, do you know who I am? I'm Betty Davis. She was great. Betty Davis was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's got some things in there. Things I haven't seen, like The Ambulance.
Yeah.
Which I've talked about The Ambulance on this show. It's got Eric Roberts in it. It's sort of like a haunted ambulance type thing.
Yes.
The thing I always remember about The Ambulance, though, is that Eric Roberts works for Marvel Studios in the movie, and they are actually at like a Marvel Studios, and like Stan Lee is in the movie and shit like that.
Yes, he is.
And there are some other Marvel people in that film too. And I just kept thinking, like, The Ambulance is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This movie is in the Eric Roberts is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I mean, it stands there, obviously.
Yeah, he does a cameo. Which means, I guess, Mallrats is part of the cinematic universe too. Then, but
so did they get fucking Thanos to?
I can't like all these people keep dying. I can't remember why they keep dying in the ambulance. Leo Rossi is also in that movie.
Hmm.
I think Larry Cohen likes to use Leo Rossi a lot.
Yeah,
Which I
possibly.
mean, why wouldn't you? He's got that look to him.
Yeah.
But I can't remember why people are dying, but when you get picked up by this if there's nothing wrong with you or something like that,
Yeah.
or an ambulance, the ambulance will show up even before something's wrong with you,
Yeah.
something like that, and then it's either haunted or they are taking these bodies somewhere to use them as parts for the black market, or they're doing
Something like that. Yeah.
they're doing something like that. I
Yeah.
only saw the movie once. I watched it for Trash Tuesday. But like it was all I remember is Marvel. Marvel, Marvel, Marvel. It's it it's heavy in the first bit of the film.
Hmm.
And then there's a little bit of it that trails out, and then eventually it's not about Marvel at all, really.
Thank God.
But they really push it in the beginning, and I don't know why. Like, why does he have to work at Marvel? Why couldn't he have worked at just any other comic book store? Like,
Because if they work at Warner Brothers, we can't make money.
Ambulance is the Grim Reaper. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've only seen it once.
All right. Now that we've talked about other films we haven't seen by Larry Cohen, it's time to talk about our end feature here, I think, since we'll talk probably a good bit about this one, I think, for maybe an hour, and since we're on 11, why not?
Yeah, let me we covered everything that was on my list. We talked It's Alive, and I'll tell you, like I said, I hadn't seen God Told Me To till today.
Well, God told you to watch that, obviously.
He told me to watch it, and it definitely changed the order of like some of my favorite Michael Cohen films, or
Larry Cohen.
Larry Cohen. Sorry, Larry. Sorry, big guy. If you can hear me up there in Jew heaven. God Told Me To is just, dude, I just sat there. Like, even with the dialogue and everything in God Told Me To, like, I was so into the movie.
Yeah, you get really invested in it.
You get really invested in it. And Mike, I almost called him Michael Cohen again. Larry Cohen. Michael Cohen's going to jail. Larry Cohen, he kind of, I guess Unbreakable had came out around that time, so he kind of compared it to Unbreakable a little bit, and I saw exactly what he was talking about with that. It was a movie I'd always put off, but always wanted to remember to watch, and I finally got the chance to watch it, especially since it's on YouTube and it's free. It's very easy to watch, and I was not disappointed in that movie. It is a really good 70s sci-fi film. I would call it more sci-fi than horror.
Especially with the elements of them both being aliens.
Yeah, it's like a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because I mean,
there's no real horror aspects to it except learning the truth about this guy and everything else.
Yeah, and it's almost to like it's not a slasher film, but there is a hint of slasher in it. Just with, I mean, it's different people killing people, and they keep telling God told me to.
Yep.
And the whole thing that gets you invested, it's really creepy when they tell you that. Like, there's the one guy that he stops him, and the guy doesn't actually get to say it. He just keeps saying, God, God. And he keeps saying, why did you do it? Why did you do it? But the guy can't get it out of his mouth.
It's not a guy. It's a woman. It's the woman who tries stabbing him.
Yes, that's right. That's right. There's so many people.
God.
Yeah. And Andy Kaufman. Say it. Andy Kaufman's in it. He plays one of the people.
Yep.
He disrupts the Irish parade.
Yep.
They must be in Boston or something, right?
No, it's New York, I think. Again.
Is it New York? Is it New York? Okay, because Boston usually has the big Irish parade. So yeah, I think God Told Me To is of all the movies I watched today, because I watched The Stuff yesterday. Yeah. All the movies I watched today, God Told Me To was my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a lot better than It's Alive, even though It's Alive's not
It
bad.
is better than It's Alive. I have a feeling I'm probably going to enjoy It's Alive 2 and 3 more than the first one. But
Probably.
I understood what It's Alive. I was invested in It's Alive 2 as well. Uh, not 2, but
I get what you mean. Go ahead.
TOO. But not as much as in God Told Me To. That
Yeah.
movie kind of took me by surprise.
You know, an alternate title to God Told Me To as well as God Told Me
Demon.
To Kill. Yeah, it's Demon, but it's also the tagline God Told Me to Kill.
Oh, see, no, it works better when it's God Told Me To.
I know, it is.
Yeah, we don't need the kill part. You don't have to say that. That then almost becomes more telling than showing.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. God Told Me To is just way better of a title.
Yep.
So we're done. We don't. There's no movies left.
Besides one.
Besides the one,
The
the
one.
best one,
Yes.
and that's The Stuff.
The Stuff. Can I get enough of the stuff, sir? Yeah, you got stuff for me?
Enough of the stuff is never enough.
Never enough. I want
Isn't-
more. I gotta have more.
Gotta have them all, dude. Gotta get it all. So The Stuff, let me see here, 85.
Yes.
So The Stuff is older than me.
Mm-hmm.
A delicious, mysterious ooze comes from like the middle of the earth. Like we start out with just some random worker.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if he hears it or what, but he's like,
He sees it. He sees it
Yeah.
bubbling. Yeah.
And he goes over there, and then his first instinct is to put it in his mouth.
Yeah. He's like, I should see what it tastes like.
Why? I don't understand.
Like that would be no one's reaction. Besides
Like,
Esau's, but
are we to infer that the stuff has a smell, like has a good smell to it that would make you want to eat it?
I guess.
Because I mean, there's a different story that we'll talk about later as we keep talking that actually has to do with the smell of the stuff.
Trust me, it's not as good as it smells.
No. So basically, then this stuff is so addictive and it's so good that it's threatening the ice cream industry.
Yes.
And it's threatening to take over as the number one dessert for America.
Yes.
Over ice cream, which apparently is the number one dessert. Well, I mean, I can see that.
I mean, who doesn't love just getting an ice cream?
Yeah, ice cream is fucking great, and it goes with other stuff too. You know, you get like a apple fritter or something like that.
Yeah, you get some pie and some,
Yeah, you get some pie. You put some ice cream on that shit.
You have some ice cream and cake. You just have some ice cream sundae.
Ice cream. Have you ever had ice cream cake?
Yes, I have.
Oh, ice cream cake is so
one of the
fucking
cakes
good.
I actually had when I had my mom always usually makes me pretty fancy birthday cakes. What she decided to make me was a baked Alaskan birthday cake, which is a cake that basically has ice cream on the inside of it.
I would eat that. I would eat the shit out of that. Which reminds me of a scene in a different movie that we're not going to talk about. But so the ice cream industry, they get together.
Yep.
And they decide to hire an industrial spy.
Yes.
Who is Michael Moriarty.
Yes. He's returning because Roger Corman owns his soul.
Roger Corman and Larry Cohen toss his soul back and forth because just to play with them. And he's known as Mo Rutherford. And why do they call him Mo?
Because he can't get enough. Gets Mo.
He always wanted Mo. That's why they call him Mo.
Even though his name is David, I think. David Rutherford is his whole thing, but everyone calls him Mo.
Yeah, it's like David Mo Rutherford because he always wants more. Every time I get a little bit of money, I always want more. So the ice cream industry is basically paying him to infiltrate the stuff, the people who run the stuff.
Yeah, because they want to figure out to get to replicate it, basically.
Right, and they are protected under the same law that protects Coca-Cola.
Cola, yes.
Right. So they can't figure out, and they're even the one guy even says, he goes, man, I just wish we could figure out how they make it so we could duplicate the stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's supposed to be some sort of
like yogurt,
yogurt type thing.
It almost looks like marshmallow cream mixed with like a yogurt. That's the kind of consistency it looks like it has.
When Nutella took over the world, remember when everybody was eating Nutella?
Yeah, that's
And it
kind
was
of I think that's what
that's
really helped inspire
exactly,
this. Yeah.
dude. All I could think was the stuff.
Yep.
Because I know Nutella is not, it's not the same color, but
No.
all I could think was the stuff that all these people were eating Nutella, and it was just slowly, because what the stuff does is it's sentient
Yes.
and it eats you from the inside out, and it can control your body.
Yes.
It basically takes over, because we find out later on down the line, which we'll talk more about, but the people who are, they work at those facilities that
Yeah.
pump the stuff out of the ground, they're all basically zombies
Yes.
or under a control of something else.
Yeah, the whole thing with the stuff is it controls the people. It kind of lives inside them too. You see it
Yeah.
in several scenes. One of the interesting things you see early on when the kid gets up, who's our secondary character throughout the entire thing, because we see his perspective for a good while.
Yeah, the kid with those weird blue eyes.
Yes. Oh, did you know this interesting fact, by the way, too? The brother in that movie for the kid, that's his actual brother in real life.
Yes, that's his actual brother, and you can almost tell because they have the
They have
same
the same,
eyes.
yeah, the same creepy light blue eyes that look like
Yeah.
coming out of the Children of the Damned.
Yeah. They've
Sorry,
got
Village of the
eyes.
Damned.
You know who's got the creepiest eyes is the chick from They Live.
Mm-hmm.
She's got those blue eyes. I can't remember her name right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm gonna look it up now because I know it's an easy name and I never remember.
But yeah, he
her name.
basically wakes up because mosquitoes are biting him. He gets up, he's hungry, he wants to go to the fridge. The fridge, he sees the stuff moving out of the canister, like around and spilling
Right? Yeah,
everywhere.
in the middle of the night. Yeah.
And then his dad basically comes down, yells at him for being up at 4 in the
Whips his
morning.
ass. His
Yep.
dad is such a dick in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Until
Her
the stuff
name is
starts taking him
Meg.
over, and then he basically acts like really creepily weird and happy.
Her name is Meg Foster, is who I'm thinking of.
Okay.
So if you look up Meg Foster, you'll see she's got really fucked up blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he sees the stuff moving in the middle of the night. He goes down there because it's really hot in his room,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes down there to get I think he just opens the freezer to like cool himself off.
Yeah.
And he might be getting a midnight snack as well.
Yeah.
But he sees that shit moving. His dad busts him. His dad's a huge fucking asshole through the whole movie.
Yep.
His dad is just a fucking dickhead.
I would say his dad is a dickhead until basically the stuff takes him over because he seems really creepily happy after that.
That's true. That's true. Because there's the scene when they're all sitting down for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a bowl of the stuff on the table, and they're trying to force him to eat, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna finish this in my room," and they're like, "All right, fine."
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It was the first they wanted him to eat that stuff, so he pours it all in the toilet, and then replace it with shaving cream because he forgot about the very great line, Jenova, that basically he gets in the car with Michael Moriarty, he goes to save him because he finds out about him.
Right.
And he basically says, "Well, we all got to eat shaving cream sometime in our life, son."
I guess we all just have to eat shaving cream at some point in our life.
Yeah.
That is kind of what the stuff looks like as well.
Yeah, it does.
It's got that vague look to it. Like it's,
Mm-hmm.
I think they said sometimes they used melted ice cream and sometimes they used shaving cream, and they used it for what the different scenes called for.
Yeah, that's basically most of the time they used, if I remember, they said ice cream and actual frozen yogurt too.
Yes, but there was one time for some of the
plaster stuff they used
for the plaster, like the scene where
the guy gets his face covered in it, or he goes on the walls and all everything else, or where it's chasing somebody. It's not like
it's a foam paste made out of fish bones.
Yep.
So it stunk everything up.
Yes.
After the takes, actors were running off set
to the nearby lake to go there and smell the fresh air.
Yeah, to get fresh air in their lungs. Because why would you think that something made of fish bones would smell putrid at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who came up with that idea? I wonder if he was fired or if Larry Cohen was like, "Oh no, that'll be a great idea."
Well, I think it's just because the consistency of what it's like with fish bones is a lot of gelatin that's used, so that's probably what he was trying to go for that foam. You know what's actually one of my most iconic favorite scenes in the movie, besides the fact when Moe's introduced and he has that wire on the guy and basically tells him all the stuff and punches that other asshole out.
Yes.
Because he says, "Tell the FBI for me this," breaks the dude's jaw and leaves.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's in the beginning when they're paying him and they find out he's slipped like little microphones into their pockets.
Yep. And he says, "I'm not as dumb as you think I am because
Right.
nobody plays as dumb as I do because I play it like really up. That's how he's so he gets into stuff because he plays like a country aloof bumpkin, but he's not."
Yes, and that's a big part of his character because once again, him and Larry Cohen sort of came up with that offset
Hmm.
because they were talking, and Michael Moriarty, he really didn't have a hold on the character. He really didn't know how to play him,
Hmm.
and he was having a hard time. And he asked like Moriarty, like, where do you think this guy's from? And he goes, well, I would say this guy's from Kentucky. He goes, okay, we'll do a Kentucky accent.
Yeah.
And he did a Kentucky accent. And they go, okay, now what if this guy, check it out, this guy is so dumb that's part of how he's
Actually, I can't
pretending
remember.
to be
I
dumb.
don't remember if it's Kentucky or Texas is what they say because he wears cowboy boots out the entire thing.
I
So
think
yeah.
he's supposed to be from Kentucky.
Was it?
His accent sounds Kentucky to me. It doesn't
Okay.
sound very Texan. But one of the Texans that listens to us would probably know better.
Does Group Sweetie count?
But he's a Texan slob, you know. But it sounds Kentucky to me. I think
Hmm.
I think that was the story anyway. They said he gave him a Kentucky accent.
Hmm.
So
Regardless, it's a really good accent. He did it
regardless, it's a great
specifically.
accent, and the character is great because he does play an idiot the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
But he's really smart, and he's
Yeah, he's
getting
really smart, sly,
yes,
and he is something we have both talked about as well about having an immoral hero
yes.
because he's doing this all for money, but he's also like it seems he comes around at the same point, go like, yeah, this stuff is not going to be good for anybody.
Well, I think it's not so much as that he realizes like eventually they're just going to come for me, and I've got to stop this, like
Yeah,
because I need to be able to make money and spend money.
yeah,
That's basically to me what happens to that character
hmm,
is that's how he gains his morals, you might say,
yeah,
is that he realizes like, well, if I'm dead, I won't be able to spend any of my money.
yeah.
So, and
Or
I
if I,
like
yeah,
money.
and I love the fact when he's in the thing with the dude who's actually the head guy of the stuff, saying, "I don't have to actually eat the stuff, do I? I don't. I like read that to the stuffies."
Yes, but eventually, well, we'll get to the end.
Yeah.
Uh,
I do love the scene where he basically goes to find about this town where all these people are moving to, and he runs into Chocolate Chip Charlie.
yes,
And he
Chocolate Chip
drop kicks
Charlie,
him.
because Chocolate Chip Charlie just sold out his facilities to the stuff.
Yep, and he did not have the reason to. He did not want to. It was his asshole brother and his relatives.
Yes, and he's basically the face
Yep,
of Chocolate Chip Charlie, and everybody else kind of ran it without him, and he was kind of left in the dirt. They just
yep,
used his likeness and shit like that. But he knows kung fu,
yep.
some shit like
My
that.
my hands are lethal weapons. I
My
told you.
hands are lethal. Yeah, there's the one scene where the guy is dying in the door,
Hmm.
behind the door, because they're at like Chocolate Chip Charlie's shack, and the guy's like,
It's not Chocolate Chip Charlie Shack. It's what it is the gas station where they're at the post
"Oh
station.
yes, that's right," because he meets him out there by the gas station.
Yeah.
And the guy's behind a closed door and he's dying. The stuff is coming out. Another thing, great special effects.
Hmm.
The mouths get like ripped open and they get really wide, and you can see down inside the throats and shit
Actually,
like
what's
that.
really funny though, if you didn't notice, Jenova, when that happens, they all get chased and everything else. But that guy closes his mouth and just clears the stuff off his face too. He didn't die. He was just like that, and he comes back to life.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's a blink and you miss it scene.
uh, right, because that might be how they turn you into it, like a zombie, like a drone, sort of.
Mm,
That might be like the process where that happens.
yeah, possibly.
Uh,
Or the stuff gets out of you naturally,
But they like knock on the door. Chocolate Chip Charlie knocks on the door,
and then
and like on
busts
the
it.
third knock, he punches through it
Yep.
instead. It's so fucking.
Yeah. Do you remember
He's
the fact when they're basically running from all those people too that are chasing after them? That when they punch them, they like fall to pieces because
yeah,
the
that's
stuff's eaten what was ever remaining of them.
yeah, because it's like you're not necessarily rotting from the inside out, but it's eaten away so much of your structure that you're very fragile.
Yep.
So some people they get punched, and it's a lot of it is very like Rikio
Hmm.
fighting. You
Yeah.
know, you punch a guy and like half his head comes off.
Yep.
a lot of shit like that. You get punched in the jaw, your jaw falls off. Ever there's like I said, practical effects very good in the fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the practical effects for it. The comedy is on point. Uh, and like we said, it is kind of like a jab at consumerism a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. But I always saw
Blind consumerism is how I say it, because people
right,
who
but the
basically
consumer, Mo Rutherford is a consumer.
yes,
He likes money. He likes to spend his money,
can't
and
get
the
enough of
consumer
that.
saves the day. So
Yes.
it's a weird sort of like, yeah, consumerism is bad, but people also need to consume. I mean, it's part of living.
You know what was actually really funny, at least I found funny too, we'll get to the end scene, but one of the biggest things that actually has a real big impact on me when I was watching it is when the kid goes into the fucking shopping mall and he just keeps knocking the grocery store
Oh
and keeps
yes,
knocking everything over, just fuck all the
uh,
stuff.
part of that scene where he's got like the broom handle and he's
Hmm.
running down the island in the middle, knocking
Yep.
over all the stuff. I want to do that so bad in a shopping mart now.
He breaks the fucking glass to get the ones that are in the fridge.
Yeah, and he fucking some of the stalkers try to stop him, but he gets that broom handle behind him and knocks down their fucking
Yep.
pyramid of
Yep.
the stuff. Which brings me to another point. He really shows like the media aspect, how they
Hmm.
sell it,
Yep.
because they've got this whole setup in this on this set, and it's got like a walkway for models and stuff,
Yep.
and it's got the stuff in the background. And if you guys don't know, the stuff has like this hot pink purple sort of logo color to
Yes.
it.
It looks
So
very
it's
poppin' 80s.
yes, it's very 80s to it. And then you've got this one woman in a fur coat. She's obviously in a bikini underneath it. And she's talking about how she's always liked the stuff and she can never get enough. Enough is never enough of the
For the
stuff and
stuff
all that stuff. But she's very old. So they sort of
covered in furs.
they cover in furs, but then like the lady who's running the thing, because Mo comes to talk to her,
Yes.
she takes that old lady off the stage and she brings out two newer, younger models,
Yep.
and they feed each other the stuff
Yeah,
with
there's a
their
lot of them going in and out and everything else. It's like a catwalk thing, and that you
yes,
see other models basically wearing furs and bikinis, and it's like,
yeah, and their feet, and it's that whole like sex sells thing, and it
yep.
even sells ice cream. Sex sells ice cream. Even it's not ice cream, but
Man, I want some ice cream now.
sex sells yogurt, sort of thing.
Man,
I do. I want some
I
ice cream
cannot
too.
get enough of that stuff.
And you can't get enough of it. It's great. So there's that whole thing where they do show you that side of
Hmm.
marketing
Yeah,
where it's like that, and then Mo walks in and basically
he lies to her about the whole
he
petroleum deal.
lies to her and he kind of dazzles her with his stupid hillbilly charm
Yep.
and gets her to come with him, because that's what he's doing. He is an industrial spy, so everything he's doing is espionage.
Yep.
And but even the lady who's running the commercial, who's making, she even has her assistant check him out,
Yep.
like check out his resume and see what it is. But at the same time, get me a dress to wear for tonight because I'm
Yep.
going to his room.
I'm going out to dinner with him and all this other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they want to go out to dinner, and she's like, "Well, where are you staying?" And he names some big shot hotel,
Yep.
and she's like, "Well, do they have room service at your place?" And it's like, "Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna blow you so I can get whatever I need from you."
I mean, he wouldn't
Um,
blow her, but
and then where do they go after that?
with that, it goes back to the kid's family throughout the whole thing. And then you realize all this stuff of, he goes outside, then it goes to meeting that old place with everything else with, Chocolate Chip Charlie.
That's
He
right.
lives
That's right.
he lives him at the restaurant basically saying, go see this other person I know in the FBI. He won't trust me. And that is technically a scene that makes up for something else later, because that whole restaurant's like, oh no, we don't have this stuff here. But they do. They had the stuff everywhere in that
Yeah, because he
restaurant.
says, "Y'all got the stuff,"
Any of y'all got that stuff?
and they all get real quiet and they
Yep.
look at him.
He's like, yeah, there's no stuff here. I wish it sells out so
We
fast.
wish we could get it, but we're on a list.
Yep.
And that's why they want to pump out more because they've already taken over a small town.
Yes.
The stuff has already taken over a small town, and now that's why they're getting the chocolate chip Charlie factories,
Yep.
which are supposed to be up and running in 60 days. So they have like 60 days to stop the stuff from getting to another city
Yes.
and trying to put it out where they can.
Yep.
And eventually we run into eventually the military shows up, right?
Yes.
Paul Sorvino or
Yep.
Paul Sorvino, who played Big Paulie in Goodfellas.
Yep. And he also is a character in Law and Order as well.
Right, with Michael Moriarty.
Yep.
That's right. They were both in Law and Order together.
Yep.
Which is weird, going from like zany Larry Cohen films to something like
Serious.
Law and Order, like
Yeah.
a
Serious.
Dick Wolf serious crime procedural drama.
Mm-hmm. That's a diversity of actors right there.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So like
They find
there's
out
something in between there, and I can't remember what it. Okay, in between is where
they find out there's like the people that try to go after them too, and the stuff
right
basically
because they
devours the guy. Remember on the ceiling and all other stuff.
right because yeah, and the stuff wraps around Michael Moriarty's face
Yep, it does at a
in
certain
the
point.
hotel room, and then she's like, "Well, I'm gonna light it on fire." So I don't know if it's a stuntman or if it's actually Michael Moriarty, but somebody's laying there with their face on fire.
Yep.
It's clearly protective gel
Yeah.
on top of the stuff,
Yeah.
but they still set it on fire, and he's laying there and everything's on fire. And then it was supposed to be like
The
they
kid
were
had the stuff on his face too, and she lights it off his, and it basically like melts off his face, and they realize that fire kind of dispels it.
yeah, fire comes in handy for a lot of things, unless you're fighting dragons or something.
Yeah.
Fire is very good at getting rid of lots. I mean, it gets rid of xenomorphs, and so
It gets rid of the thing.
it gets rid of the thing. Like if you've got fire, you're in pretty good hands.
So an interesting fact I wanted to point out. So they basically try to get jumped by human agents of the stuff too when they're
Right?
there,
Yes, like the
because that didn't work.
drone zombies type
Yes.
guys. Yeah.
And so they basically leave a stuff thing to basically get them. But what happens is they open that up, and it basically gets the guy in the ceiling and starts devouring him or whatever. And that is actually the set from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, it is.
Yes,
Oh, that's cool.
that's how it does the whole effect. It's a set that can rotate.
I can't wait till we talk about Wes Craven.
That'll be interesting.
That's right, because it's the scene where the blood pours out, shoots out of the bed onto the ceiling.
Yep.
But it's at a time when people were doing like the rotation.
It's the rotating sets. Yep.
Yeah, the rotating sets.
Larry Cohen used the exact same set.
Hitchcock had a rotating set too. If you pay attention to the movie Rope, and I know this is off topic, but if you pay attention to the movie Rope, the cameras never move.
Yeah, that's right.
The whole set moves.
Yeah.
And the house that they built, or the apartment that they built for the whole thing to take place in, that moves around the cameras.
Yes.
It's very, very cool. I like The Rope. If you've never seen The Rope, you should see it, even though it's off topic. But
I have seen it myself. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think you can watch it for free on YouTube.
So. Probably, or Shout Factory.
Great, one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the stuff eventually.
They keep burning more of it. They
keep burning more of it. What does that kid do with his family again?
I don't remember what he runs away from.
I think he just runs away from. I can't remember what happens to them at all.
I don't think they ever come back in the picture at all.
Yeah, they're on a lot of the poster art.
Yeah, they are. But
the family is.
Yeah.
Somebody was in a video I was watching. Somebody was pointing out how fantastic a lot of the posters were for the stuff. It's not even like fan art. It's like actual posters they did for.
Yeah, Minty's the one who mentioned that
that's right. That's right. It was Minty, and man, they've got some really good stuff on there. And I guess the Blob remake came out a couple years later.
Yeah, it did.
So a lot of the posters for the Blob look similar to the stuff. And the stuff is sort of, a lot of the posters are taken from the original Blob.
Yeah,
from
the 1950s.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
you know what I actually saw more recently too? And this is off topic, my own off topic thing here. When I was searching the Blob to see if the original film was on YouTube for free to watch.
Yeah.
The Revenge of the Blob is on YouTube for free to watch.
Revenge of the Blob. Yeah, Revenge of the Blob is very much like the stuff as well. There's a scene in Revenge of the Blob that is very similar to Chocolate Chip Charlie's death.
Oh,
which we
okay.
did not talk about yet
No,
either.
we have not gotten that. So that's the whole thing. They basically leak out the whole stuff about how the stuff is alive, eating you on the inside, and everything else.
Right.
Chocolate Chip Charlie's there, basically corroborating with it, and he grabs her, and he says, "Blah, blah, blah,"
Yeah.
which you see
Uh,
earlier with the guy and his dog, where the dog's been eating the stuff, and the stuff's inside the dog.
yes, very true. Strog, we're talking about Minty Comedic Arts. That's his name, right?
Minty
That's his
Comic Arts, yes.
Minty Comic Arts.
Yeah, I think that's what his name is.
Yeah, it's Minty Comic Arts or Minty Comedic Arts. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, he's
But he
always got
does.
10. Yeah, he's like 10 things you didn't know about said film.
Yeah, and we watched his video that he did for this stuff, and he mentions a lot of things
Mhm.
that you may or may not know. But he just brings up some stuff. Like he also talks about an
He brings
Australian
he brings
film.
out stuff about stuff.
Yes, he talks about stuff about the stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, so what's that
Uh,
Australian film called, Jenova?
it's called Body Melt,
Body
and
Melt.
apparently it has a lot of similarities with the stuff. Where it's about instead of like a yogurt or ice cream type thing, it's vitamins.
So it's like health
So it's like,
surplus.
yeah, it's like these healthy vitamins, and when you take them, your body basically melts.
Ooh.
And it looks very similar to the stuff when they're melting.
Would you
And it can
say it has some
even
inspiration from the Blob as well, with how things are?
definitely a lot of inspiration from the Blob. But I mean, the stuff I think also takes a lot of inspiration from the
Well, I
Blob
mean,
as well.
obviously, it's
Yeah.
you can't not compare it to the
Oh,
first.
I just think it's great that the Blob has the stuff has inspiration from the Blob in it,
Mhm.
and then the Blob remake has inspiration from the stuff in it.
Yes,
It's this weird circle that goes around.
yes, it is. So,
um,
so that's what happens with Chocolate Chip Charlie. He basically disintegrates. The whole room starts filling up with stuff, and they have to save the reporter from being eaten by that.
are they in like some radio room or
Yes.
something? Yeah, okay, because it looked like I can't remember why he was there, but it definitely looked like it was soundproof.
Yeah, it was soundproof because he's talking. They're both talking, and then he says all this stuff. I think I know what happened and how he actually got infected. So he was a deep cover agent for them, but it only happens when Michael Moriarty leaves him. So it's basically put in his food when he stayed at the restaurant.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And then he starts to have like a seizure.
yeah, he has a seizure. Yeah,
Yeah, and then his mouth starts to get real wide.
and then he just explodes and the stuff comes out of him.
Yeah, and then he's just like in piles on the floor. There's
Yep.
there's some pieces of him here or there.
So
But
who
that comes that does that come after the
does it come after what?
is that before or after they meet up with the army and go to the facility that's pumping out the stuff?
That's after.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So here's the thing, though. Why don't you mention the fact that the person that's playing Chocolate Chip Charlie was not the first person that was considered?
That's true, and I can't remember who it was originally supposed to be.
Arsenio Hall.
That's right, Arsenio Hall, and instead you got whatever his fucking name is.
It's one of the original cast members. Of
Garrett
SNL.
Morris.
Yes.
Garrett Morris is his name. And you were supposed to get Arsenio Hall, who has been in a couple horror movies, I think, himself.
I think so, yeah.
And I think at that time he was I wouldn't say big, but I think his career was starting to get there.
Yeah, I think his career was slowly getting at to where its height was.
Because this is in '85. I mean,
Yeah.
when's Coming to America? That's got to be like '86, right?
I think so.
Coming to America is '88.
88, okay.
So, yeah, and I think Arsenio Hall started as a stand-up comedian.
He is still a
Yeah, so he was probably getting popular from there, and they wanted to put him in. But Garrett Morris is a more well-named actor at that time.
I think
One of the
Arsenio was
original
fitty with
cast.
one of his stage sets too. That might be why he couldn't do it.
Yes, and apparently Garrett Morris and Garrett Morris does not like Larry Cohen.
Yeah, he apparently did not like him.
He didn't say why, because he gave the whole that old school thing of if you don't have anything nice to say, you just don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously had a problem.
For me, I'm with Minty. What he says, the whole thing is, and that's like maybe he felt like his death was underwhelming, or he was spiteful that he was one of the characters that died.
That's true. Because it does kind of come out of nowhere,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you're in a horror movie and you are one of those characters.
Yeah, he was kind of a throwaway character. Chocolate Chip Charlie was in no way a main character like
There was no
Moriarty's and the
way
kid
he
were.
was surviving that movie.
No. He
It's just
survived
not
he survived a long time too. It's near the end of the movie where he dies, so what's he complaining about?
right. Because when I first saw the movie, I thought he's going to meet Chocolate Chip Charlie was going to be one of the bad guys.
Hmm.
Well, not a bad guy, but he was going to be one of the drones or zombies, and he would try to kill him.
Yeah.
But he's lucky he lasted as long as he fucking did. If that's what his real problem was
Yeah.
he did not like his death.
Which is always possible.
Uh, Street Trash is grade A trashterpiece. You're not wrong. Fucked. Street Trash is fucking a great movie. Get your Viper. Everybody take a sip of their Viper.
Fuck no, I know what that stuff does to you. I'd rather have my stuff any day.
We should watch Street Trash one day.
We will.
Once I
I'm
get
sure.
once I get OBS working, bro, we're gonna. There's so many movies we'll be able to watch from YouTube.
This video has been blocked by YouTube.
Our last, if nobody watched our last Kung Fu stream, the stream we did last Friday is blocked worldwide, all
Yeah.
because of the end fight scene I showed from
Yeah, because you showed
Angbak.
Ogbox, yeah. That's the only
Yeah.
thing. Imagine if you didn't show it and
Well, the thing is, I forgot that Angbak was from Magnolia,
hmm.
and Magnolia is real fucking tight with their shit.
Are they?
Now I got it showed me. See, that one was in red,
Hmm.
but it showed me like 6 other yellows
Hmm.
that demonetized us. I mean, we're not this channel
Well,
is not monetized,
well.
but it was demonetized, and the Protector was in there, and the Protector is the film that Tony Jaa did after Angbak, and I can't
Yeah,
remember if it's from Magnolia or not. But I was
possibly.
surprised they didn't get us for the Protector either, because I showed that whole scene
Yeah,
just
you
because I
did.
wanted to show the whole how it doesn't cut and it's just one
Yeah.
take.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Don't
Excuse
mind
me.
Jenova, he's just dying.
Yeah.
He's been eating too much of the stuff, obviously.
Oh.
Ah. So that's the
It's never
interesting.
enough.
So that's the interesting thing. The movie does not end on that scene where she's in the room and saving her. No, the movie itself ends on kind of an interesting note where
Right.
it's basically, you have Michael Moriarty's character and the kid with the ice cream man who's saying, "Oh yeah, we have the stuff now. It's all ours. We can sell it to people." And they're saying it's less addictive, all this other stuff, or maybe more addictive.
Right. Because they end up in the office
Yeah,
of these two like CEOs or whatever you want to
yeah, and
call them.
they make them eat the stuff.
Yes, and like that's where it ends. Like it pans away and fades out with them having finished like 6 cartons apiece.
Yeah, and actually, no. What I remember it ends on, it's not that. What it ends on is like another thing from the stuff itself, like showing the container, and then it spills over.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those Larry Cohen, like, oh, is there going to be another one of these movies, kind of thing.
Oh, he should have made one.
I know,
But I guess I mean but at the same time, do we really need sequels?
not really.
We don't need. We got the stuff, man, and it's perfect the way it is.
Tasty. Like, what flavor, if you were going to imagine anything for a product, what would you make it taste like? What does the stuff taste like?
What does the stuff taste like? To me, I think it tastes like a mix between, like you said, marshmallow fluff
Hmm.
and like vanilla.
So, like a frozen yogurt vanilla.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's got like 2 different sweet tastes that would go together with it.
Hmm.
And then that might just be because that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
Maybe it tastes like fucking chocolate. I don't fucking know.
maybe. I would wonder what it would taste like myself too. It's bubbling up out of the earth, so you'd maybe think of it earthy taste to it, maybe like a really rich, deep vanilla. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I just can only imagine, like, because I think the whole thing too is like in the end they're trying to market of like what other flavors can we add since they're an ice cream company. What other flavors can we add to the stuff to make it taste even better?
Yeah. And I'm surprised you didn't get any of that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I guess because the stuff is supposed to be sentient,
It's sentient, and it's the fact too. I think it's blind consumerism, so it doesn't change how it looks.
Right, yeah.
Because you don't think about the flavors, you just think, "Oh man, this product's real great," just like Nutella, because there's other types of Nutella, but everyone always just remembers the one
Right,
that
because
every
people don't eat it with anything.
no,
They just eat the stuff itself.
yeah,
And like it replaces all their diet and everything like
all their
that,
food, yeah,
all their food and everything.
and that's kind of true
Uh,
with what happened with Nutella too, because a lot of people would just eat
dude,
fucking
I'm
Nutella.
telling you, the Nutella craze that happened, the whole time it was happening, I was like, it's the stuff, man. It's the fucking stuff. It's real life now.
Hmm.
I'm wait for somebody to die from a Nutella overdose and their body's like all fucking
Well, they wouldn't die.
falling apart.
They wouldn't die of a Nutella overdose, but they would get peanut allergies with their children. That's what happens when you eat too much peanut butter, actually.
Yeah. Sometimes I eat peanut butter and it's too much and I'm like I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And I don't even have a peanut allergy. That shit really gets to you. That's just because I'm a fucking slob with a terrible diet. Um,
Okay. So
well, we
it's
didn't
not
talk
even
about.
I'm just realizing this. So Nutella isn't even nuts. It's this hazel. It's hazelnut. It's not peanuts.
Yeah, it's hazelnut. It's like a
It's a
hazelnut
hazelnut
butter.
coconut spread. Yeah,
Yeah,
cacao spread. Sorry, excuse me. But
cacao.
Nutella was manufactured by Italian company Ferrero and was introduced in 1965.
Yeah,
Oh, its first international dates were wait. What is this? Its first international dates was fucking 1963. So it was made international before they made it for their own people in Italy. What the fuck?
that's weird. Maybe it was like, maybe they took the company international, so then maybe you couldn't sell it to Italians.
Maybe I don't know. It seems like something they kind of would like, though. Italians love spreading everything on bread.
That's true,
I
but
mean, you you
they
would know,
like a lot
right?
of they like a lot of red sauce though.
I
That's
mean,
the Italian. They
they
like
also
red food.
I mean they also like squid ink. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, not me. My family brings that shit out, and I'm like, no, you can eat that. I'm not eating that shit. Oh, come on, it's from the home country. Come on, get that shit the fuck away from me.
the black spaghetti.
But we skipped. So we went straight to the end, but we skipped the part where Paul Sorvino shows up with his military
Yeah.
because they kind of sneak into the town where the stuff is being created, right?
Yes.
And then like
Middletown, Georgia is where it's
right,
located
and then
for the mining.
Moriarty goes to like a place next to it with like a militia or something like that
Yeah.
in it, and he's like, "Oh, they've been sneaking under your nose this whole time, General. They're
Yep.
coming in."
Yep.
And he's like, "What? What's going on?" And then he basically, because at the end they raid, before we get the end where they force feed the CEOs, they raid the facility where they're
Yep.
pumping the stuff out of the ground,
Yes.
and they use the army to do it.
Yep.
So they're going through there and they're doing all that stuff. And then there's a scene where they're at the airport or something. They
Yeah.
land and they're come running out and they come up to this cab driver and he's like, "What's going on? World War III?"
Yep.
And Paul Sorvino is like, "Just get us to this town and enough with the liberal remarks."
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite lines in the whole movie.
That
Enough
is
with
a
the liberal remarks.
that is a good one. I'm trying to remember if there was another line like that in maybe I think there's a line like that in Q too as well, where they mentioned something about that. Like they make an offhanded comment.
Oh yeah, he
It's
throws
great.
Larry Cohen throws little things like that in his movie,
Hmm.
and it's great. It's one of those things where like you want to see a message, but like we said, to see a message means you're not watching the movie.
Ew, sorry, I'm just looking at the ingredients it says for Nutella in the United States. Fucking palm oil and skim like skim milk. Ew. Who would eat
Skim,
this?
fucking every single teenager in
Can't get enough of
2011.
this.
What was the Nutella craze? 2011 or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Everybody was eating that shit. It's a shame. It's a shame it wasn't a sentient parasite or whatever it is. And fucking most people who eat Nutella are white teenage girls and minorities. That's who eats Nutella. Because Chad is basically agree it's not that good. It's not that good. It's overrated. Yeah, I would agree 100%. I think
Yeah.
I got a little bit of it one time, and I was like, "What's the fuss about Nutella?" Avocados are the new Nutella. I've never had avocado.
It's all right. I've had it in guacamole, but
I never had guacamole.
yeah.
It just always looked very stuff like that. I'm always like, oh, it just doesn't look like I want to eat that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, I'm more of a bread and meat type of guy. Just give me bread and meat, and I'm fine.
I do like my Mexican food.
Mexican food gonna be good. I like nachos.
Yeah. It's just like more authentic Tex-Mex style Mexican food tends to use like avocados and stuff like that in it.
All right, okay. I'm sure. I'm sure I'd eat it at some point. I'll eat
It's
some of it, and I'll be
as
like, "This
long as
stuff's
you
amazing."
I wouldn't say it's amazing over the top. People always say it's a superfood. What I would say when I eat avocados is just they're a good condiment with anything else, and it's a
I'm a
it's
ketchup guy.
I know it's just really kind of creamy texture wise. Then again, it's a fruit, but it kind of acts more like a vegetable if you understand my meaning.
Gross.
I
A
know.
fruit that acts like a vegetable.
Yes.
It's gross. I don't want that anywhere near my body. I don't want no fruit near my body. Fruit. Next time I'm gonna want some more cocktail fruit. You know what movie that's from?
I don't. What movie is that
It's
from?
from Half Baked.
Oh, of course, it's from
The
a
guy
movie
gets
called Half.
the guy gets locked in prison, and
Mm.
Nasty Nate wants his fruit cup. He goes, I can't give you my fruit cup because then I'll have to give it to you the next day and the next day, and then I won't get my vitamins. But then he gets saved by Tommy Chong, who's some kind of weird guy who keeps a squirrel in his pocket.
Of course, I mean.
But Nasty Nate tells him, he goes, next time.
Meanwhile, Jenova talks more about his degenerate movies. Yeah, thanks.
Master Chong saved your ass. Next time I want some more cocktail fruit.
So it's funny. I am going to mention, since we're a little off topic, anyways, at the moment. Since you love Hackers so much, I got to give a movie I love as much. I know people probably don't really care for.
Is it Hackers 2?
No, shut up.
Go ahead.
Monkey Bone.
Oh, with Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
Oh, Monkey Bone. I've never seen Monkey Bone. It's got Chris Kattan in it as
Yep.
well. I've never seen Monkey Bone, but I used to know two guys that I used to work with who used to love that movie, and they always used to tell me to watch it, but I've never seen it.
We'll have to take a look at it sometime. You might like it.
That was towards the end of Brandon Fraser's career, huh? Was it?
No, it wasn't. That's more towards the beginning of it.
The beginning, middle of it.
Yeah.
Because he was very popular for a very short time.
Yeah. That's when they start having in the Mummy movies.
And I like Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I liked him as an actor. I thought he was great. But then he started doing those fucking Looney Tune movies and shit like that. And Monkey Bone, I was like, what is Monkey Bone? What is this movie?
You know that Looney Tunes Back in Action is done by Joe Dante with him in it, right?
Oh no, Joe.
I like that movie. I don't hate that movie.
What are you doing?
That's still you want to know why I like that movie though? There's a real good reason.
Okay.
It's
Which movie? Back in Action?
Yes, Looney Tunes Back in Action. The
Okay.
reason why is because that's the last time Mel Blanc voiced Bugs Bunny and all those characters.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's not a bad reason to like it.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's his last, voicing of those characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's also very meta in itself too, especially the ending where you get Daffy saying, "I'm still not getting top billing for this shit."
Well, maybe Joe is a big fan of Looney Tunes, so
yeah, I think he is, especially when you see how Gremlins 2 acts.
Right, yeah. I mean, Spielberg was also a big fan of like cartoon shows. I mean, he gave you Freakazoid and Animaniacs and all those type of great shoys.
All those shows all those
Toons.
shows that made fun of political correctness by a guy who eventually became politically correct. What a shame.
Like right in the beginning of the Tiny Toons intro, they even make fun of the censors.
Yep.
And then like you get like somebody like Steven Spielberg who's he wants to kind of censor things.
Yeah.
Animaniacs way better than Freakazoid. Oh, I don't know about that fucked. But I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. Animaniacs is pretty damn good, but I think I might be a Freakazoid fan. I think if I got to watch one or the other, it's probably Freakazoid.
They were on kind of almost at the same time too, which didn't help anything.
Brendan Fraser should have been in the Mummy remake instead of Tom Cruise, says Strog.
I could probably stand him hell of a lot more than Tom
I
fucking
think it would
Cruise.
have been. I think it would have been. I think more people would have liked that movie
Yeah, probably.
if you would have had Brendan Fraser in it over Tom Cruise. Tom
Yeah.
Cruise was like Tom Cruise. It's like he was playing Ethan Hunt from the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
He can only play. He's been playing Ethan Hunt for so long that he can only play Ethan Hunt now.
In other movies.
And in other movies, because he did the Jack Reacher movie, and he plays the same fucking guy in those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. You've lost all your acting credibility, Tom. And it has nothing to do with Scientology. I mean, it probably does. Scientology probably.
Oh, there you go. Mention that Scientology
destroyed you at some point. But now that you're stuck in this Ethan Hunt mode, you're Ethan Hunt in every movie. It's very similar to what Johnny Depp tried to do, where he was Captain Jack Sparrow, and he was these sort of flamboyant, over the top characters in all these different movies. And then he went and he tried to do a regular movie that was more like sci-fi, a film, and he was looking more like he did in Secret Window. And it flopped because Johnny Depp can't fucking act.
No.
Not anymore, he can't. At one time, possibly. I think he's in A Time to Kill with Christopher Walken, and that's a great film. And Tom Cruise and Christopher Walken are both really good in that movie. So I a lot of these people in Hollywood, they're so. I know Disney just dropped Johnny Depp from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies because they're about to reboot those.
Yep.
Because we all want a fucking reboot of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Reboot me more.
Yes. Watch, they're gonna drop a reboot of Aliens. You just wait.
They're probably gonna.
It's coming.
And the aliens are gonna be horrible because they won't be designed by H.R. Giger anymore.
Yep. They'll bring up their own. It's gonna be fucking terrible.
My droid rights.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll cross it over with Star Wars at some fucking point.
My synth rights, please acknowledge my. No one gives a shit about synths. I'm sorry. There was a cool character in the comics who basically was an interesting synth because he never realized he was a synth until he was like ripped in half and didn't die. He's like, oh, I'm a synth. Because they're made in like gene lab factories and all this interesting shit. It's actually really cool. It's part of the Earth Wars series. It's really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Bishop knew he was a synth.
Yeah, he did. He knew he was a synth. Ash knew he was a synth too. He was a deep cover one, but he knew he was a synth.
Yeah. So I mean, Disney, they own so much of entertainment now. So a lot of stuff you're going to be watching is going to be Disney.
They need to stop owning so much entertainment because it's illegal. They do need it's called a monopoly, and it's illegal. They do need
to stop. Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if you found out they were breaking some sort of antitrust law or some shit like that, or at least on their way to doing that. I don't know if that's what they're doing now. They are very litigious people, so it's just something I noticed, and I don't want Disney owning all the entertainment anyway.
No,
you'd never get Larry Cohen films.
No.
If Disney was running everything.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna it's not gonna be fucking good to have Bob Iger, who can't even let go of Kathleen Kennedy when she's done so much damage to a beloved franchise that I don't even like.
Yeah.
I don't even give a shit about Star Wars. But I know what they're going through. Yeah. I'm a Halloween, I'm a Michael Myers fan. Look at the shit they did to my film. It's not even Disney.
No, that's Blumhouse.
Look at everything they've done from everything after 2 and beyond. I mean, 3 is good, but
it shouldn't have been a Halloween film, though.
No, it shouldn't have been a Halloween film. Or if it was going to be, it should have been Halloween 2. That's how you should have nipped it in the butt, was make it Halloween 2. Because that's what Halloween was originally supposed to be anyway.
An anthology series.
An anthology series of different things happening on Halloween.
You know what he should have actually called, now I think about it? He should have called it Hallows Eve, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, that would have worked too.
But he didn't. He decided, I can't let go of the name Halloween. Someone else will take it.
and apparently the advertisement for season of the witch like made it seem like Michael Myers was coming back, so people were very like they felt betrayed and lied to.
Yeah. Good job
So it
there,
was one-
John Carpenter.
Disney is like the movie version of EA, going to run it all into the ground. You're damn right, Struck. Disney works very close with EA too because of the Star Wars deal. That's true too.
Hmm.
So they're just they're terrible for entertainment.
Yeah.
Entertainment should be you should be able to see, and I mean YouTube should be this, but now it's not. It's
No.
moving more into a corporate direction.
That's because
But
it's owned by those wonderful things I love called dual citizens.
yep, the goddamn dual citizens. Uh, but you should be getting like anybody sort of like in the 80s with the home video VHS thing that we talked about on our
Hmm.
video rental stream.
Yes.
Anybody should be able to go out and make a movie they want and be able to put it somewhere for anybody to see. And you should be able to get just as much exposure from it that a Disney movie can get.
Yep.
Anybody should be able to see these things
I
at
am
all times.
I am glad there are things like Shout Factory and Shudder that are
Yes.
basically out there that are giving things, and that there are independent YouTube channels that start doing more experimental films and all that too, but they seem less because YouTube censorship and all other bullshit.
Yep. Yeah. It's a shame. But I
Yeah.
think in the same way, like I hate to get to, I hate to say these type of things because they sound very like progressive and cringy rebellious, but I think that people who want to make entertainment, they will strive and they will break through. And regardless of what kind of grip Disney or Hollywood has on entertainment, eventually it will loosen, it will break, and the floodgates will open, and you will start getting more talented, better
Disney?
stories and movies than you have in the last 10, 20 years. Because it's been, when I look back on at least the last decade of movies and television,
Mhm.
I see very little for us to be proud of. And I see a lot of below mediocre shit that is praised like it's something other than the shit show it is.
Yeah.
And that's because we're not allowed to say mean things.
Mm-mm.
We're not allowed to be if you're going to criticize, make sure it's good criticism. I don't think those words go together, good criticism.
Mm-mm.
That's one is called criticism, the other is called praise. And you
Mhm.
don't have a lot. I can't heap praise onto the majority of Disney films.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
They've lost their way.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of Hollywood is lost. So even Blumhouse. When Blumhouse first started, I thought I was like, here it comes. This is exactly what horror fans have been waiting for. And guess what? Jason Blum is not a fan of horror movies. He just wants your fucking money.
Yep, because horror films are becoming popular again. That's why I did
Yes.
that.
And he figured out how to get it. And I've said this 100 times on this show, and I'll say it again. And Blumhouse won because horror fans are so starved for content, actual quality content, that they will eat anything you throw at them.
Yes.
Because for the longest time, the horror genre is looked down upon, even though it's the one that gave, like, it's been, you want to talk about progressivism and shit like that. Horror has been the most progressive fucking genre. It's been the genre. It's always been there. Scary stories are the oldest fucking tale of time.
Mm-hmm.
And horror gets looked at like it's the stepchild of movies. And it most certainly is not.
No.
It is the granddaddy.
It is the oldest of
It
all
is the
stories.
oldest of all stories, exactly. And it should get the respect it deserves.
Mhm.
But it's hard to respect it when you look at the horror community itself, because they don't have any respect for themselves.
No.
So that, to me, that was always the biggest problem in horror.
At least I find that the
genre.
bigger problem is it's just big Hollywood horror compared to normal
True.
small guy horror. And normal small guy horror, I have a big respect for.
True. There's always small things out there.
Mhm.
A guy will break through, and you go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, and cult
Uh,
films, good directors, all that stuff. You'll
Cult
definitely
films,
see it.
good directors. I really miss Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Because he was one of those Wes Craven, and we will do a show about Wes Craven at some point.
Yeah. He's
But
down the road.
he was one of those guys where
You might
even
even say,
though
sorry, I just want to say this point. You might
oh,
even say he's down in the last house on the left.
that's true, that's true, he's down there just waiting. He even though he was big budget, Hollywood sort of one of those horror guys that made it, his movies still had that independent, like still in his roots sort of feel to them.
Hmm.
Even when you get like some of the newer movies, like My Soul to Take, which is a terrible film, you can still see that he's trying. He's working on something new. He's still trying to
I
scare
don't know
you.
what the hell Wes was on when he made My Soul to Take. Let's just
I don't know what he was. I don't know what he was doing either. I think he was like, "I'm gonna write my own Scream movie,"
Yeah,
but
okay, Wes.
it did not work out for him. But we are coming to the end of the show. We've got a it's almost 12
It
here.
is almost time.
So yeah, favorite Larry Cohen movie?
The Stuff.
I'm gonna have to go with The Stuff as well. The Stuff gets a 9 out of 10 for me.
Same. Actually,
Um,
I'll rephrase that. A 9.5. It almost has the perfect mark, but not just there.
what stops it? What
That's
stops
a
it
good
for me?
question. I think it's because there's just some scenes where it's a little slow. Even with the stuff I like about I say stuff, the
Right, even the
stuff,
stuff you like about the stuff, right?
stuff. There is still a few things I think that could use a little improving. Not much. It's really close. Actually, no, no, fuck it. 10 out of 10.
You're giving it a 10 out of 10. Wow, that didn't take much convincing.
It didn't. I had to think about it a little more, and yeah, I think everything's all right with it.
I would say I gave it a 9 just because, like you said, there are some things that could use some work for me.
Hmm.
There's a scene here or there where I could probably do without, but for the most part, 9 out of 10 on
It's
fucking
definitely
point.
a ride. It's definitely a ride.
And if you could give yourself a number 2 and number 3 Larry Cohen film, what would they be?
Number two is Q.
Number 2 is Q. Okay, that's a good pick.
And that's because it's Michael Moriarty's first film that he's in, and it really shows that, like, I love that character arc with Jim, like I was saying. It's a really good ride. It's a little confusing with the two subplots and everything else. That's why I probably give it an 8.
Right.
But Michael Moriarty's acting in the whole thing, even though it's his first time, I say that's like a top-notch act.
And number 3,
And number 3 would be God Told Me To.
God Told Me To. Okay. All right. And we know why. What are you
Yeah.
giving that? Like a 7?
Yeah, I'd probably give God Told Me To a 7. It's a little weird and it's kind of slow going at first, but it definitely keeps your attention throughout when you basically get really invested. Like God told me to. Like who's really talking to these people? Who's telling them what to do?
Yes, definitely. Great movie. I was so glad I watched it today.
Hmm.
And the first time too. For me, number 2, it's gonna have to be Maniac Cop.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Maniac. So
You want to change your list?
yeah, I think I will put the Maniac Cops at the bottom of that list, under Q. But it's only
Okay.
because Larry didn't direct them; he basically produced them and wrote them. But that's why. I
Well, I'm
think.
going with Maniac Cop. My main reason is the two chins.
Mhm.
It's
So it's not this whole thing because I put the
oh
whole thing from.
the whole thing is great, but what
Mhm.
really caps it off for me, what gives it the number 2 spot,
Just one.
uh, is the two chins,
Okay.
Bruce and Robert Zadar.
Zadar.
I give it an 8 out of 10. That's what I give Maniac Cop.
Yeah.
And my third one would be God Told Me To. I give that a 7. It's just a really interesting movie. If you're into like sci-fi thrillers, it's just fucking. You just get really invested in it. There's a lot of talking, but they make like what they're talking about is so fucking cool
Hmm.
that I just really like that film. So it's getting a 3. It's third place for me,
Hmm.
and it's getting a 7.
Yeah, like I said, mine would be the entire Maniac Cop series for 3.
The entire man, all 3 of them. Okay,
Yep.
I could probably do that too.
Yep.
At second place would be the Maniac Cop trilogy,
Yep.
definitely, because I can enjoy
Each one.
Each one of them I can enjoy. And in the second one, you even get a little bit of Bruce Campbell in the beginning too.
Till he gets stabbed.
Yes, till he dies.
Mm.
So I really, really love It's Alive 2, So Dark and Weird. I'm going to eventually watch It's Alive 2. I wanted to watch it today, and I want to watch the third one today, but I just did not get the fucking time.
Yep. I'm going to finish watching the stuff myself after we're done.
It's a great movie.
I didn't get to finish it, even though I've watched this movie plenty of times. It's one I've definitely had multiple viewings of.
Yeah, it's
but
very
you know,
good.
it's one I could just put on, watch it, you know,
Yeah.
know what I'm expecting, and just going back in, and you know, I just can't get enough of that stuff.
Enough is never enough.
Enough is never enough.
So we will crash this plane in a blaze of glory.
A tribute to you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you for so many great
Tribute
films.
to you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Cohen. And thanks, chat and everybody, for coming out tonight. We really appreciate the input, as always.
Yep.
We will be back Wednesday, and we will be talking Chud and
Yes, the
Chud
Chud
2.
2. Yep. Bud the Chud.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Or also Contamination Underground Disposal Unit. Or Unit Disposal.
Unit Disposal, yes. That's the second one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's mentioned both times in the first movie what it is. Because I can't decide if that's supposed to be the the thing.
Yeah.
But that's what they kind of got the anagram from, was from the disposal. So
they had the name, they just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they kind of did. So at least know what I think it. Well, we'll talk about it more when we're actually talking Chud. So I think I'll bring that up then.
Yes.
But I will mention tomorrow on Banner Rants we will be doing Artism, and I'm going to bring a very favorite horror, horror artist of mine. Yes.
Okay. Great.
I'm going to bring Geiger.
All right. Yes. He's perfect for an Artism show.
Exactly.
He's perfect for it. I watched part of the second Chud. Yeah. Second Chud, I mean, we'll talk about it on Wednesday, but it's one of those shows, or it's one of those movies where it's so different from the first one.
It's also a name-only sequel.
Yes. They just, because Chud became such a cult hit when it came out. So, but thanks for everybody for coming out tonight, and we will see you guys on Wednesday.
Take care, chat. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.